local pilots here. So that's one of the issues that has been raised in this particular industrial action. And we're going to be keeping tabs on that. And also some good news is that the United Kingdom is to fast track a 500 billion shillings project. And this is after President William Ruto met with the new UK Prime Minister, that is Rishi Sunak, who has also his roots domiciled right here in Kenya. This and so much more will be coming up in not too long as we look at those stories that have been making headlines in the last 12 hours or so, give and take. And also later in the course of the day, of the show actually, we're going to be discussing the high cost of fuel, and we're going to be having representatives from Wikipedia who happen to be, you know, the immediate in the supply chain before it gets to you as a consumer. They happen to be retailers. They will have an opportunity to answer that question: why do we have costly fuel in the country, and maybe give recommendations how we can ensure that we get affordable fuel. Remember, next week but one, EPRA is going to be doing its fuel review. I'm Regina Manyara. We invite your feedback. You can get us on Twitter. On our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle is at Ray Manyara. Include where you're watching this particular broadcast from. For now, we take a quick breather. We'll be back with what has been making headlines in the last 12 hours. Do not go away. Good morning. If you're tuning in, this is In the Headlines, and I am Regina Manyara. We're bringing you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines in the last 24 hours. And we start off with the issue of the national carrier, that is where striking Kenya Airways pilots are adamant that they will only return to work after their collective bargaining agreement is implemented, as KQ CEO Alan Kilavuka insists any talks to resolve the stalemate will be initiated only when the striking pilots resume work. Benson Rioba has the details of this.
Kenya Airways management is now threatening to institute legal action against striking pilots for disobeying earlier court orders that barred the pilots from taking industrial action. The national carrier CEO Alan Kilavuka says talks to end the strike, already on its third day, will only carry on once the pilots resume their duties as advised by the courts.
Time when it's very difficult for you to have discussions with people who are belligerent. Okay? We have given counter offers upon counter offers upon counter offers. Now, I'm beginning to wonder what exactly is the purpose of this strike. Okay? There might be another motive.
The national carrier has defended its move to advertise the striking pilots' jobs, saying they have been forced to incur heavy losses and there is need for an immediate plan to salvage the situation.
It will take a long time. It's going to be a painful process. But listen, sometimes you have got to take a pain to make a step forward. You cannot be held hostage. Actually, this is a very dangerous trend. If we allow this to happen in every sector, we as a country will be in trouble. We cannot allow a few people, just because of lack of understanding or being selfish, to hold the country hostage. We have got to break this at some point and say, let's take the pain now, but prepare it for posterity.
Kilavuka claims the management has ceded to most of the pilots' demands, claims that the pilots dismiss, saying the management has been hindering talks, vowing to only return to work when their collective bargaining agreement is met.
The persistent harassment and intimidation towards pilots agitating for their rights serves more to agonize than inspire confidence that management is concerned about their welfare.
The Central Organization of Trade Union, COTU, has urged KQ to desist from instituting legal action against the striking pilots and instead initiate talks with the pilots as the trade union offers mediation services to unlock the stalemate.
Suit this morning for contempt, but like I said, we lost a lot of money, right? So people have to be held personally and jointly responsible for the losses and damages to this country, to this airline.
I respect the rule of law. But the employers, from the KOTU standpoint, the employers must desist from this issue of waiting to the last minute when we have given a strike notice. Then they wait last minute instead of solving the problem, because the notice was given earlier on 19th of October. You don't wait for 2 weeks and then in the 11th hour to go to court so that you get away of punishing employees. It is not right.
At the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, stranded passengers have asked the airline to facilitate their travels and compensate them adequately for their lost time.
We are surprised that the government and Kenya Airways have not come to the solution. The passengers are suffering. We have paid for it, and I don't know what is happening.
We tried to get rerouted a couple of times, but as you can see, we're still here. We are hoping that maybe we'll make our way out tomorrow, but we heard that there's a threat to dismiss the pilots, which again makes us concerned, because you can't be threatening people instead of trying to find an amicable solution.
Actually, they ask maybe make a booking for a hotel today, and then they asking me to travel tomorrow morning. Maybe there will be another late, but actually I don't have any other choice until I can take a car to Mombasa, but it is 9 hours and it will be very exhausting to me.
The carrier says it is talking with friendly airlines to transfer some of its passengers as a mitigation measure.
And that has been the situation since Friday there, with a couple of passengers stranded owing to this particular stalemate. We'll continue keeping tabs on what is happening with the national carrier. Now let's focus on what is happening in Egypt, where the Kenya government and the United Kingdom have agreed to put 500 billion shillings into a new British investment project to support Kenya's partnership on climate change. And as part of the deal, the two countries have agreed to first-track finance into 6 major clean and green projects in Kenya. United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak commended President William Ruto for pioneering climate leadership and urged Kenya to continue along the path of green growth.
The whole world is reeling from the staggering impact of climate change. The spread, scale, and frequency of disasters like hurricanes, typhoons, wildfires, and heat waves, melting sea ice and glaciers, droughts and desertification, floods, and rising sea levels in numerous regions of all continents indicate that humanity is confronting unprecedented devastation on a global scale. It is estimated that by 2050, climate impacts could cost African nations US $50 billion annually. The Horn of Africa region, including Kenya, is experiencing the worst drought in 40 years. Moreover, due to drought, many children have now dropped out of school. We have been compelled to make school feeding a priority in order to keep our children in class. Kenya's world-renowned wildlife heritage has not been spared either, and carcasses of elephants, zebras, wildebeest, and many other wild fauna litter our parks. We cannot afford to spend more time skirting around the real issues, and we must break out of the open-ended, process-focused discussions we are trapped in. Further delay will make us busy spectators as calamity wipes out lives and livelihoods. We want to make a case for developed economies to decarbonize their production by directing industrial investments to Africa and making use of clean energy to manufacture for the whole world.
Now, John Mwikiria Mukiriria, the third suspect in the murder of Rwanda-based businessman George Mwangi in an Ingis Gatundu residence last month, has been arraigned in court after his arrest. However, Mwangi was not charged, as the detectives sought to have him in custody for 7 days as they complete investigations. His arrest brings to the three to the number of suspects in the murder of Mwangi, including his wife Gladys Chania and her farmhand Maurice Kamau.
John Mwangi Muikiriria before the court. Muikiriria, who went missing on the same day that Rwandese-based businessman George Mwangi was reported missing, was arrested at Karinga location in Gatundu South Sub-County after weeks on the run. He was presented in court on Monday but did not take plea, as the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution made an application to continue detaining the suspect for a further 7 days pending completion of investigations.
Na kati ya ile vitu ningetaka kufanya yoona ni DNA sampling of the respondent. Tunatarajia kupata mashahidi wengine kutokana na taarifa yake ambaye ameandikisha na sisi.
George Mwangi's remains were found in Kieni Forest, Gatundu on October the 14th this year, 2 days after he was reported missing.
Na nimekubaliana nao kwa kufanya hivyo waweze kukaa na wewe pale Mtaiga Police Station kwa siku 7 na waweze kukupeleka katika maabara ya serikali wakafanye ile uchunguzi wanataka kufanya hapo.
Last week, politician Gladys Chania, the deceased widow, and her farmhand Maurice Kamau denied murder charges and are currently detained till October 27th, when their bond application will be heard and determined. According to a post-mortem report, Mwangi died due to blunt object injuries to the head. Muikiriria, a farmhand in the deceased estate, disappeared on the day Mwangi is believed to have been murdered and had left his phones and clothes in his employer's home, leading to speculations that he could have suffered the same fate as that of his employer.
We'll be keeping tabs on what is happening from the corridors of justice. Now, the University Academic Staff Union, WASU, has faulted the Education Cabinet Secretary, Ezekiel Mashogu, over recent remarks that the government could stop funding public universities. WASU's Secretary General Constantine Wasonga says if the government cuts funding to public university learners from humble backgrounds, they will be disenfranchised.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mochogu has been urged to relook at his policy on funding of universities. UASU Secretary General Constantine Wasonga laments that public universities are in dire financial crisis. The situation, he said, has been made worse by budgetary cuts, which are taking a toll on higher learning in the country.
What we want to know, what did the CS Ministry of Education mean when he said that the government would not fund universities?
Wasonga says any attempts by the government to cut funding to public universities will give such institutions green light to charge fees as they wish, a move that will disenfranchise economically disadvantaged students.
Now, has he given public universities free will to charge fees at market rate? Because private universities, where they take students, charge fees as market rate, and also they sponsor students and take capitation there. And what is the implication of that? It means now education is going to remain for the rich only.
Wasonga also faulted CS Machogu for suggesting that public universities should fund their activities from their own source revenues, saying such institutions are only owned by the government, which has a responsibility to fund them.
He promised to increase technical universities from 3 to 8. How would you increase them if you stop funding universities? The president also committed to bridge the gap of funding higher education from the current 80, and he promised to increase it by 45%. The next thing that he promised the higher education community was to increase research funding from 0.8% to 2% of the GDP.
Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has lauded newly elected county bosses who have exposed corrupt dealings that resulted into the loss of up to 35 billion Kenya shillings. EACC Lower Coastal Regional Director Mark Ndiema said the revelation aids the war against graft in the devolved units. Audits launched by respective governors revealed the existence of employees and fictitious pending bills.
A recent audit revealing various counties that have been making payments amounting to 35 billion shillings to non-existent employees has been met with applause from the EACC Commission.
So we are already on it, and we appreciate the collaboration. If they're able to flag out the issues and we take up, that is a plus to us all, and we'll be able to deal with the issue as it comes.
The Commission claims the audit will beef up probes that are at an advanced stage across 10 counties that have been engaging in unlawful dealings.
EACC is already conducting investigations on most of the cases that are reported. And in due course, the investigation will be concluded and we'll be able to present the culprits to court.
Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has been in the forefront in asset recoveries of land and money which has been acquired illegally. And like I mentioned, that money has been returned, assets have been returned. So basically, we're in the right track.
Speaking in Mombasa County, EACC Lower Coast Region Director Mark Ndiema has advised the newly elected governors to break the cycle of corruption by upholding integrity in their 5-year tenure.
We are working closely with our investigation and with our public awareness arm, just to educate the public in terms of their responsibility and their role.
And the governors in the county governments, the buck stops with them. They're the managers, accounting officers of the county. And the governors ought to be transparent, accountable, and run the counties with lots of efficiency.
Ndiema further maintained it will conduct rigorous training and awareness to the county bosses come next year, a move that the Commission is certain will avert such cases in the future.
So our song is one, and it remains one. This is a chorus to Angamiza Ufisadi.
Now, a Kakamega-based police officer allegedly shot dead a young man while pursuing a suspected thief in Kambi Mwanza market. The second victim is nursing gunshot wounds at a local hospital. The family of the deceased is now calling for justice and want investigations instituted.
These were the scenes along Kakamega-Webuye Highway. Traffic disrupted for hours after police officers at the Cabras Division Station allegedly shot a young man and killed him on the spot, while another was hospitalized with serious injuries. It is alleged that the deceased, Collins Ndombi, was going about his daily activities before police officers who were pursuing a suspected thief in Kambi Mwanza market fired a shot, killing him on the spot, while another victim is nursing gunshot wounds.
Nikaona watoto wa shule wako na mwenzao ya kwamba amechukua kitu ya mwenzake ameuza. Kwa hivyo baada ya muda mchache nikaona polisi wakaingia na mawe kuanza kurushwa. Cha kushangaza ni kwamba baada ya polisi kwenda tunashuhudia vifo.
The family of the deceased is now calling on the security organs to investigate the matter and ensure justice for Ndombi is delivered.
Nikaona kijana wa pikipiki mwenye kijana yangu anafanyia. Akikuja akiniambia mtoto yako wamemshuti na hajakufa. Penye nimefika hapa nimepata mtoto yangu amekufa. Na sijui amekosa nini. Wananiambia walikuwa wanakimbiza mwizi. Yeye kutokezea ndio akamshuti. Sasa sijui yeye askari alimshuti kama anajua yeye ni mwizi.
Naomba serikali mnisaidie kwa sababu mimi sina mbele na nyuma. Ni huyu mtoto yangu ndio wa kwanza. Tena huyu mtoto mwenye anatafuta tu riziki yake hapo.
Tom Mwanje, a human rights activist, condemned the incident and wants independent policing and oversight authority to intervene and solve the cases of police killings, which he says have been on the rise.
Sisi kama watetezi tukiungana na jamii na familia ambazo zimeathirika, tutatembea moja kwa moja ili tuhakikishe kwamba kuna haki at least limepatikana kwa ile jamii na kule ameathirika amekufa na ule mwingine yumo hatarini, na tunaomba Mungu uhai wake umrudie. Na IPOA Kila mara tumekuwa tukisema haipo mchunguza hao police officers. Nyinyi mmelekeza kamba.
Malava Police Chief Paul Mwendwa says they are detaining a robbery suspect at the Kakamega Police Station who is a student at Shamberere Technical College. The body of the deceased was taken to Kakamega mortuary while the injured victim is admitted at Kakamega Hospital in critical condition.
When calling for, investigations there, I'm just wondering about securing that particular crime scene. So when the investigations are done, I'm just thinking in terms of forensic and such, will there be evidence to actually indicate that the slain, or rather the deceased, was shot using which gun, what bullets, the casings and such? Maybe it's a case of me watching a lot of criminal documentaries, so to speak, but I think we need to do better when it comes to matters of extrajudicial killings and such. Now, still on matters securities, at a 48-year-old physically challenged disabled man from Deya location in Kiambu County is nursing serious injuries at the Kiambu Level 5 hospital after he was attacked by unknown people who are suspected to have sexually assaulted him and severed his genitals. The suspects believed to be behind the heinous act are reported to have lured the victim by enticing him with alcohol and one of the areas drinking dens.
What started as a Sunday day out, some booze and probably some heavy sleep in the night for the 48-year-old turned to be a nightmarish day. Little did he know that those sponsoring his day out were out on a dangerous mission that would leave him robbed of dignity in many ways. The suspects allegedly sodomized the disabled victim and went ahead to sever his genitalia.
Asubuhi tuliamkia hivi vituko na jamaa hana mguu juu hawezi kutembea, wanajua wakimshika tu hakuna pahali ataenda. Sasa wamemshika, alafu afadhali wagamshika kuliko kumshika na kumdhulumu.
Wachunguze wajue hii maneno inafanyika kwa nini, na hizi viungo za mwili mbona mtu anapigwa na zinachukuliwa.
Hiyo kitu tunataka kuona, hatutaki ati iende na iende kabisa. Tunataka tujue imeenda wapi, sababu haiko hapo. Haiko hapo na hayuko nayo, iko wapi? Tunataka kuona hiyo kitu iko wapi, imeenda wapi. Isikuwe ni mambo mengine, isikuwe ni mambo mengine ile ya kafara.
Police have commenced investigations after recovering crucial evidence at the scene of crime and are confident of apprehending the aggressors.
It's alleged there is a cap which was found at the scene. The people within Royal, they know, they have the suspect, or they know the suspect, although they are not willing to come forward and give us the real suspect.
The patient is receiving specialized treatment at the Kiambu Level 5 hospital.
He had a multiple injury on face and his genital areas. He has a deep cut on the genital areas, and after examining him, we noted that he may need a further treatment.
It is such, reports that make you question, have human beings now suddenly become wild and life has become priceless? Now the government will work on a 5 transformation pillar approach to enable the Postal Corporation of Kenya make profit. Information, Communication, Technology and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says competition in the digital communication platform has adversely affected the position of the corporation, and position of government is keen on reverting.
Plans to revamp the Postal Corporation of Kenya has begun. The Ministry of Information, Communication, Technology and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says Postal Corporation of Kenya should take its rightful place as a strategic state agency.
This corporation has been around for more than 2 centuries. It is awkward that some of the competition complained about is from entities that are only a couple of decades old. This can only mean that the corporation did not anticipate change and prepare for it. We must jolt Postal Corporation of Kenya from sleep before it sleeps forever. It must take up its rightful place as a strategic state agency in the emerged and future competitive, technological and business marketplace.
Owalo, who spoke while in a meeting with the Postal Corporation of Kenya Senior Management and Board Monday, said the ministry has identified areas of priority in transforming the corporation, including organization of the corporation's product and services, financial management, technology and innovation, internal organization and governance of the corporation.
Adjusting to match international standards, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is enhanced at improving or strengthening the corporate governance framework of Postal Corporation of Kenya. There are a lot of legal issues which are hanging around the necks of PCK. We need to find ways and means of sorting those issues out because they are impacting negatively on the financial position of the organization.
Owalo says the Postal Corporation of Kenya should benefit from the fourth industrial revolution as a critical player in the communications sector and on national economy.
Interventions must be complemented in the short term, mid-term and long term.
To the corridors of justice, a petition has been filed at the High Court seeking to stop the vetting by Parliament and the swearing in of people nominated for positions of principal secretaries. Petitioner Frederick Kiberi claims a list unveiled by President William Ruto last week does not meet the constitutional, gender, regional and ethnic balance threshold, including inclusivity of marginalized communities.
The list of 51 names of principal secretaries nominees who are awaiting vetting by Parliament after President William Ruto released it on 2nd November has been challenged in court. Through his lawyers, Frederick Kiberi avers that nominations do not depict national representation as they have excluded the youth, people with disability, the marginalized and the elderly. He says if Parliament will be allowed to vet and debate the names, it will be going against principles of good governance as enlisted in Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Being the symbol of national unity, he is bound by Article 10 of the Constitution to ensure that he adheres to the principles of good governance. These principles include inclusivity, diversity, promoting the representation of all the marginalized groups, and also ensuring that there is a regional balance for the positions that are created constitutionally.
Meanwhile, a businessman has been charged with stealing Kenya shillings 10 million belonging to Sunsport Petroleum Company Limited between 3rd November 2021 and 31st August 2022 at Diamond Trust Bank Limited. The accused Abdirani Abdirahman Abdi denied 7 counts of stealing before Nairobi Chief Magistrate Wendy Misheni and was ordered to be remanded at Kileleshwa Police Station as the prosecution said police are still investigating him over issues of threats to the complainant Hafsa Bulha Hussein. Abdirani will be produced in court on the 10th of November to confirm the progress of the investigation. Elsewhere, a civil servant and a businessman have been charged with receiving money from investors by pretending that they were in a position to help them purchase government-funded houses located at Park Road, Ngara. The accused Frederick Njenga and Sheila Kamadhi are said to have received between 200,000 and 600,000 Kenya shillings from persons interested in the housing project. The two appeared before Nairobi Chief Magistrate Wendy Misheni, where they denied the charges and were released on a cash bail of 200,000 or a bond of 500,000 Kenya shillings. The matter will be mentioned on 28th of November 2022 for a pre-trial.
Now, in regard to that issue of vetting the PSs proposed in the president's list, this exercise was set to commence next week. So with this development and this having a petitioner there in court, we'll be keeping tabs on that. We take a quick breather. We'll be back with the day's business.
world's biggest sporting event is here with us. The FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar. KBC Television will air live 28 selected matches, while radio will beam live all the 64 matches. We would like to bring to the attention of the public that KBC is the only station that has exclusive 2022 FIFA World Cup free-to-air FTA broadcast rights for both TV and radio in the Kenya territory, and no other media outlet. Therefore, catch all the FIFA World Cup action live and exclusive on KBC TV and radio. KBC is indeed your true sports partner.
Hey guys, Sanaipe Tande hapa on Pop Culture. Kumbukeni kutizama KBC Channel 1 exclusively showing the World Cup 2022. Good morning. This is In the Headlines and I am Regina Manyara. Now we speak matters business, and this morning at 8:30 the Kenya Airlines Pilot Association is going to be holding a press briefing ahead of the court session. We have been witnessing a push and pull. Now it has resulted in a stalemate and matters are in court between the lawyers who have gone on strike and caused quite the delay, and some passengers are still stranded in various parts of the country and even outside the country, so to speak. And now today, this morning, ahead of a court session at 8:30, the pilots are going to be holding a press briefing, maybe to just bring the country up to speed in regard to their next move in this particular stalemate that has been touted to be one of the most costly industrial actions that the national carrier has witnessed in its time. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Now we delve into matters agriculture, where some farmers in Makueni County have embraced sericulture as an income generation activity. Tosheka Textile CEO Lucy Muli says silk rearing is cheaper and requires little energy to produce. Our reporter Ndita Mukami has more details on this.
Previously, these farmers were engaged in cotton farming that saw them produce 10,000 bales of processed cotton, each weighing 250 kilograms, or around 6,000 tons. Issues like high cost of energy, poor seed varieties, low income to farmers, influx of mitumba clothes and mismanagement of some ginneries affected cotton production.
We want to set up weaving villages. From the eri silk, we're able to produce yarn or thread that will make fabric for the market. Our main aim as Tosheka is really to market the textiles.
Muli says the eri silkworm feeds on castor plant, grows wild and is abundant in the area. Additionally, its incorporation with other crops provides better quality once matured and supplements their income.
But we have now partnered again with ENI, a biofuel company that set the establishment here in Makueni. And this is good for us because together we're able to generate good revenues for the farmers.
Lucy targets to have 3,000 households producing at least 60 kilos monthly that will create more jobs for the locals.
If we can get maybe 10,000 farmers or 3,000 farmers to start with, then we'll be able to generate enough silk for us to be able to make substantial or even make investments to be able to produce fabric for our farmers, our customers.
She notes that for the industry to grow, there is need for the national or county government and other partners to train locals on the value chain.
Now we are actually approached the county, this new county administration, to help us with extension services to be able to reach more farmers.
Now, digital archivists and record keepers are calling for fast tracking of the enactment of a policy to anchor the profession into law. Led by the Kenya Association of Record Managers and Archivists Chairman Cleophas Ambira, they said they intend to engage the State Department of ICT on the policy that is expected to support the digital economy agenda.
Kenya has solidified her reputation as Africa's Silicon Savannah with a digital economy worth more than 120 billion shillings. However, the country is also known as a cybercrime hub, owing to a high internet penetration, leaving data vulnerable to hackers.
As you do know, the digital economy is about information and data and all those things. And records, it's about both what we all know as manual records, but largely now also the digital record.
The Kenya Association of Record Managers and Archivists say this number is only being exacerbated by gaps in legislation and a poorer adoption of the existing policies. Record managers and archivists are now asking for legislation to be put in place to anchor the profession into law to ensure data is managed and handled in a transparent and safe manner.
That's legislating and anchoring our profession in law is significant in ensuring then that we have right investments and having the right people sitting and then supporting the profession. Yeah.
He says poor infrastructure support for the industry was frustrating standardization effort and the management of information. The association wants the government to put in place policies that will ensure information accessed and submitted by Kenyans is secure, available and well managed.
How can records practitioners and professionals ensure that they have better information records data systems to support that? Yeah, so that when a citizen or a user is accessing that information, it is secure, it is available, it is well managed, and it's a true representation of and accurate representation of the transaction.
Now, a record of 200,000 shoppers were at the Changamka Festival in Nairobi to shop locally made products last week. Changamka Committee Chair Pankaj Bedi said the festival created direct linkages between manufacturers and consumers, allowing for quality improvement of goods from direct feedback.
A preference of imports to locally made goods and high taxation has been cited as some of the factors dragging the contribution of the manufacturing sector to the economy. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, however, notes that with more exposure, locally made goods could appeal more to Kenyans, pushing the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya agenda.
Bringing in the local manufacturers together and linking them with the consumers.
The manufacturers themselves come and meet consumers directly and listen to them, show them the products, at the same time encourage them to buy at highly discounted rates.
They said this at the conclusion of the 5-day Changamka Festival, which saw close to 250,000 Kenyans purchasing export quality, locally manufactured goods at discounted prices. This, they say, is an immense growth from the first expo, which had about 10,000 people. Further, they said the good response by Kenyans to the showcased goods was a sign of willingness to consume Kenyan products, and favorable policies for the sector would ensure price reductions that would increase market outreach.
Kenyans who are behind the products, the manufacturers, because manufacturing generally sells through third parties, either distributors, wholesalers, retailers, but not necessarily seeing the face behind the product.
Local manufacturers say domestic appreciation would boost exportation, which would increase self-reliance and create jobs.
We kind of ease out the middleman, so you work directly.
Continue supporting Made in Kenya. That's what is going to create more jobs for us as Kenyans. It will create stable life for people. Each job helps 5 other dependents at home. So we need to now be a little more patriotic, start looking inward, start supporting our own manufacturers, our SMEs, our women.
Well, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. Now, Kenya and Ghana have linked their security exchanges, allowing a cross-border trading of equities and bonds by investors. The linkage of the two bourses has been done a month before the implementation of the Africa Exchanges Linkages project that targets to bring together a number of exchanges.
Fragmented capital markets in Africa makes access to stock and bond exchange an uphill task for investors when they are outside their home country. To remedy this, Second Stocks has been launched to ensure there is ease in trading stocks and bonds in multiple markets.
Second Stocks platform connects African stock exchanges, which allows investors in all African markets to easily trade across borders.
If we are able to allow different pools of capital across the continent to find a home, then I think we'll just be baking a bigger cake for the whole continent, and I think that's what we want to achieve.
In the previous years, African capital markets have grown tremendously, with over $246 million raised in debt, over $87 billion raised in equity.
It strengthens African markets because it means it's African capital being invested across Africa, as opposed to African markets relying on international investors only.
The linkage of the Kenyan and Ghanaian bourses come a month before the launch of the African Exchanges Linkages project that will bring together stock exchanges from tens of African countries to facilitate cross-border trading.
We will start providing offerings that will help the retail investor in the hope that everybody on the continent can now invest through their licensed dealing members onto every other jurisdiction across the capital markets in Africa.
The second launch of the Second Stocks platforms will ease intracontinental trade.
Now, it is systems go ahead of the Qatari showpiece with 12 days to go for the much-awaited FIFA World Cup in Qatar. In our player profile segment, we featured Danish footballer Christian Eriksen. Eriksen made his senior international debut for Denmark in 2010 at the age of 18 and has since earned over 110 caps. Now, with 12 days to go, I hope you've already picked a team that you're going to be sponsoring, and given that KBC Channel 1 is going to be airing that particular World Cup. So as your true sports partner, we want to engage you on, what you expect from us and also what you think about the preparations that have been adequately made for months now to host the World Cup in Qatar there. Come November 22nd, Denmark, where we've just featured our player for today, is going to be taking place under Group D, alongside Australia as well as defending champs France. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Now, still keeping up with matters sports is at the Kenya Basketball Federation. And the Kenya Volleyball Federation received 9 million scholarships yesterday from the National Olympic Committee of Kenya. The scholarships will help the two federations prepare their respective teams adequately for the 2024 Olympic Games to be held in Paris, France.
Speaking after handing over the sponsorship, Secretary General of the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, NOC Francis Mutuku, said that the program is aimed in preparing Kenyan's teams adequately for the 2024 Olympic Games.
We've said as a country we must change just our thinking, that Olympics is not an event. Olympics is it's a preparation, it's a continuous process. We've said that Olympics preparation starts immediately after the end of the Olympics.
Mutuku also called on the athletes to commit themselves fully, saying that the committee, in collaboration with the Ministry of Sports, is determined to motivate all the sports persons.
At the national level, we are telling the federations, please ensure that their national competitions, that their leagues. Why do we want this? So that all our players, all our athletes are engaged, they can be able to compete. Even
Secretary General of the Kenya Basketball Federation, Ambrose Kisoi, said the federation will organize several competitions in the country in a bid to scout talented players for the national team.
During our selection times for the few championships that we've managed to have the team travel and represent the country, we've always carried a countrywide recruitment program. So as we speak, every branch in this country is aware of 3x3 basketball.
Malkia Strikers coach Paul Bitok welcomed the scholarship, saying it will help sharpen the skills of the players.
Young players with us joined the team recently, and they have really shown a good level. So we want to continue with the same program for the Paris and other competitions like All African Games and also a Cup of Nations.
The 9 million scholarship is meant to prepare national teams to prepare for the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, France.
Now, the Sports and Recreation Professionals of Kenya is calling for a review of the Sports Act 2010 in a bid to accommodate other sporting federations formed after the enactment of the Act. The Federation President Martin Sisia Yauma appealed to other sports federations to embrace the new professional approach and join them in revolutionizing sports in the country.
Yauma said there is need to review the Sports Act 2013 to update it and accommodate other federations formed after the enactment of the Act. He said they have identified the gaps in the Act that need to be addressed in order to make it more vibrant.
We have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that we deliver to the country its first professional outfit, bringing together all sports stakeholders. In other words, we now have a home for anyone who has a sports-related certification. This is a place where we shall collectively advocate for the welfare of our profession, which is sports.
The Federation also plans to meet with the newly elected Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba to share their plan for the sports sector in Kenya.
We are particularly lucky that the current Sports Cabinet Secretary is not new to us, since he actually spearheaded reforms in the industry that culminated in the enactment of the Sports Act 2013. In this regard, we have an ally with whom we shall soon be seeking audience to explain our plan for the sports sector in Kenya.
He said lack of synergy, selfishness, and poor relations among other sports stakeholders has been one barrier in the dream to develop sports in Kenya.
We are trusting that we will get the support of all professionals who are out there. We are appealing to them that when we start recruitment, that they support us, they come up in large numbers so that we can work together and have a body that will protect sport.
He appealed to other sporting federations to embrace the new initiative aimed at revolutionizing sports in Kenya.
Now, KCB Chess Club and Lighthouse Alpha Chess Club took an early lead at the Kenya National Chess Championship tournament held at the KCB Sports Club. The event will be used to select players who will represent Africa at the Africa Chess Championship slated for next year.
Over 40 chess clubs participated in Kenya National Chess League organized by chess tournaments held in KCB Sports Club here in Nairobi. The event was used to select Kenyan team that will represent the country at the Africa Chess Championship next year.
Of course, chess, there's a lot of practice and practice and practice because people are growing every day. So if you don't practice, you'll find yourself lagging behind. So what to do so that you can win the next game is just practicing. Yeah.
And as will be expected of the league, it's a very, very competitive tournament series with top teams in Kenya and players coming out guns blazing. But as Lighthouse Chess Club, we are holding the fort and returning fire back to sender.
Speaking during the chess tournament, the league secretary Anthony Kionga said that the top 3 Super League teams would be promoted to the Premier League with an aim to promote chess in the country after the COVID-19 pandemic.
But for the Super League, we have 2 leagues, the Premier League and the Super League. The Super League is in the inaugural stage. We were to start back in 2020, but due to the COVID pandemic, the league was cancelled prematurely, and now we resumed physical activity this year.
Kionga added that they are planning to organize more tournaments at the grassroots. The tournament brought together players from Kenya and neighboring countries, including Uganda, South Sudan, Malawi, and Lesotho.
Now, we'll be keen to see what is going to be happening in the Africa Chess Championships there, given what we witnessed earlier. If you are an avid, fan of chess, you might know that there's a scandal that has been brewing in regard to cheating claims by a very young, against a very young chess player there who ended up toppling the world's contender, or rather champ, when it comes to matters of chess. Remember, further details are available on our website. Now, Brazilian midfielder Felipe Coutinho might be missing in action at the World Cup 2022 finals in Qatar. This is after picking up an injury. Meanwhile, former England striker Shearer says Newcastle right back Kieran Trippier has to start for England at the global finals. The World Cup finals will be broadcast live on KBC Channel 1 and in all affiliate radio stations beginning the 20th of this month to the 18th of December 2022. As we said, World Cup equal KBC.
You know what it is. Never usually this many cameras.
Felipe Coutinho was ruled out of Qatar World Cup with a thigh injury sustained in training that will sideline him for at least 7 weeks. The Brazil playmaker was already facing an uphill struggle to make the squad due to a loss of form and lack of regular action, but the injury now rules the 30-year-old out of Qatar 2022. Meanwhile, Brazil coach Tite is set to announce his 26-man World Cup squad as they prepare to take part in the 2022 World Cup finals in Qatar. Brazil are favourite to lift a record 6 World Cup as they have an exciting team full of young talent and look to be peaking at the perfect moment ahead of the tournament. Neymar, Rodrigo, Rafinha, Richarlison and Gabriel Jesus are sure of their places in Qatar, which would leave 4 players fighting for the last 2 spots. Elsewhere, Kieran Trippier's imperious form this season has made him favourite to start for England at the FIFA World Cup. The Newcastle star has created more chances than Mohamed Salah and Bruno Fernandes, and his vision will be a real weapon in Qatar. Trippier was arguably England's best player at the last World Cup, as Southgate's men went all the way to the semi-finals. He will be looking to be in the pole position to start England's opening game against Iran on the 21st of this month.
You know what it is.
That puts a cap on matters in the headlines. Just to remind you, some of the stories that we're going to be keeping tabs on is on that petition that was filed yesterday against, that is, seeking to stop the vetting of PSs, proposed PSs there. That matter is in court. We're going to be keeping tabs on that, and if at all it is going to affect the process, the vetting process exercise that is slated for next week. And also at 8:30 this morning, the association CALPA, that is, pilots have called for a press briefing at 8:30 this morning ahead of a court session. Remember, the national carrier and the pilots have, or rather are in a stalemate that has been said that is costing country lots of billions in as passengers are stranded all the way from Friday to date, trying to find their way home. We'll be keeping tabs on that. For now, we take a quick breather. We'll be back with what has been captured by the various dailies that we have with us in studio. Do not go away.
Did you do that, Lionel? No.
But of course. I'm taking care of both of us. It doesn't matter if they suspect you or me or the two of us together or whoever it may be. As long as there's no evidence that will point to us, there's no way we're going to jail.
No, I don't really know why fate has shown no mercy on us. But why? Why can't we even be together?
Alexis, I have to learn to control my feelings. I'm not going to lose the chance given by Mr. Gonzalo. My career is my future, and I won't lose both my love and my job.
This is an anonymous call. I don't want to get in trouble.
You might be looking for a woman who I think I've found. I'm referring to Nuria Murat. She's lying on a pile of rubbish, and she doesn't look good.
It is Kieran Trippier. It is delicious! Glorious England goal! Picture perfect! There is not a better strike than that. Rakitic for Vasilko. Aimed in beyond Mandzukic and fired home by Perisic! Croatia's cravings are satisfied, at least for now. And the semi-final is back where it began. Walker got there. So though did Perisic. Mandzukic! Croatia hit the front. Mario Mandzukic pounced. And England are hurt. And Croatia, for the first time ever, will play in a World Cup final.
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinet. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Right, now let's look at the newspapers here in the front pages. Let me start with the People Daily. On the front page, universities cry foul. Universities cry foul. This is, they're still asking where are the funds. Lecturers put new minister to task over declaration that Treasury will stop funding public universities. And now the UWASU, led by the Secretary General Constantine Wesonga, yesterday actually lamented that public universities are in a debt hole due to low funding by the government. And now UWASU wants the plan to deny them cash allocations revoked. UK offers Kenya 500 billion shillings for climate change work. That is a deal which was penned by President Uhuru Kenyatta and the UK Prime Minister yesterday in Egypt, Rishi Sunak. And the President and the Prime Minister were meeting at the COP27 Climate Summit in Egypt. So that is a new development there. Ex-Ketraco boss grilled for hours over 18 billion shillings loss. EACC wants to know how the money was paid to a private investor due to delays in connecting LTW to the national grid. That is the Lake Turkana wind power, a project that was being implemented by KETRACO after delays in the execution led to a loss of 18 billion shillings penalties in the form of deemed generated energy between January 2017 and September 2018. And the man on the spot is Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza, who is the immediate CEO of KETRACO. All right. Again here, matters climate change. Raila to give address at the Egypt Climate Conference. Raila, who left for Cairo, Egypt yesterday morning, is expected to address the meeting at the Sharm el-Sheikh as the African Union's High Representative for Infrastructure Development. Moving quickly here, storm over plan to stop funding public universities. WASU decries low capitation, says that institutions have been forced to secure and offer their services on credit. This is actually coming at a time where yesterday the university's academic staff union, WASU, took Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogo to task over remarks he made at the weekend announcing the government's plan. Former legislators fight for ALA jobs. That is what is here. Some 287 people have applied for the 9 positions in the Regional Assembly in Arusha, Tanzania. President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza coalition has a list of 145 applicants, while ODM Chief Raila Odinga has a list of 96. Now, this means that Azimio will have a list of 12 candidates from ODM, Jubilee and Wiper, and the Kenya Kwanza's majority side will have a list of 15 candidates for vetting. Moving quickly here, produce worth 0.5 billion shillings expire as pilots strike. Cut flour exporters say that this is a result of losses recorded after fresh produce meant for export went stale at the airports after strike. And of course, this is just but an issue and some of the problems that people are now facing as a result of the strike. Showdown looms as House debates PAC membership list. That is, MPs will debate and approve or reject the names proposed by the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. The Kenya Kwanza, that is the members of the National Assembly, and senators to the Parliamentary Service Commission, one of the most powerful commissions in Parliament. And finally, a final before the final. Now, there is a last 16 draw in the Champions League, and the full list of draw is amazing. But for me, what stops here is Liverpool versus Real Madrid, mouth-watering match. Borussia Dortmund versus Chelsea, Inter Milan versus Porto, and finally PSG versus Bayern Munich. Mouth-watering. Doreen.
All right, so let's quickly look at what the Daily Nation is holding for you this Tuesday. And on the front page of this particular daily, the main read, reversed. This is just showing you what our President, Dr. William Ruto, has so far done. And this in respect to reversing some of those decisions that were made by the previous regime, or the former president, I should say. Ruto has overturned over a dozen decisions made by Uhuru Kenyatta, that was made by Uhuru Kenyatta. This include restructuring government, revisiting cancelled multi-billion shilling projects, scrapping of subsidies. In fact, these were the first things that he did the moment he took over. He took oath of office. Of course, also the appointment of 6 judges, reverting of port operations from Naivasha back to Mombasa, where it was disbanding of the DCI SSU, that is a special service unit, which over time had been accused of the extra judicial killings there. Also reinstating sacked Kenyatta University Vice Chancellor, that is Professor Paul Wainaina, as the University Council. Of course, this particular article highlights, more of those things that William Ruto has done or reversed so far, which had been done by the former president, that is Uhuru Kenyatta there. Away from that, still on matters climate change, of course, this will continue shaping conversations and news at least up until 18th of this month, given that that conference is supposed to end as at that time. It's going to be a 2-week summit. And also going by what we have here is that President now accuses rich nations of skirting around issues in helping regions such as Africa that bear the brunt of climate change amid reports a deal for rich nations to pay poor nations. Over time, we've talked about Africa only emitting about 3 to 5% of this gas emissions that would lead to climate change. And so most of what African leaders were asking is for a compensation to some of these countries, particularly African countries. But of course, going by what was gathered yesterday is that this has been pushed to a later date, and this is now what a good number of leaders are now saying that, they're just skirting around issues, given that this is one of those prevailing issues that African leaders really wanted to discuss there. Away from that, big political names on list of Kenya's nominees to IALA. Of course, this particular article has also been highlighted there on the People Daily. But then, just going by those particular names, particularly those that lost in the previous elections, whose names have been captured here, and this is also specific to the Azimio Party. So this is the list has former President Uhuru Kenyatta's younger sister. These are the list of the finalists who are making it to the IALA assembly there. So that is a list of, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta's, former President Uhuru Kenyatta's younger sister, Christina Pratt. There's Azimio leader Raila Odinga's daughter, Winnie Odinga, whose name has also made it there. KANU chairman Gideon Moi, as well as Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's son, Kennedy Musyoka. These are just some of those names from the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party who have made it to the list of Kenya's nominees to IALA. Also, Azimio is planning to pile pressure on Ruto over poll promises. Of course, some of those promises that Kenya Kwanza made while they were campaigning, this is what Azimio plans to put pressure on or pile pressure on. Key among those issues that they are also setting to navigate through is the issue of taxes, which over time the president has talked about and just put forth the importance of increase of taxes, matters of NHIF, increasing the tax bracket there, NSSF, they proposed of 6% of salaries as opposed to the 200 which is currently being contributed. And so this some of those things that Azimio is just trying to put pressure on the president, saying that it's not quite the time to increase the taxes, given the fact that Kenyans are still reeling with a high cost of living, and also for the state to look into the high cost of living matters. Of course, you've over time talked about how the president has said that, the nation needs to give him at least 1 year before we can begin seeing sort of like fruits of reduction of high cost of living. But this, among various raft of issues, is what, Azimio is just planning to put pressure on the president to see how best he's going to navigate around these issues. And of course, the SGR documents, still quite the conversation there. It is something that the former president had promised over 4 years ago to make public. That really didn't come to fruition. We've seen a 3-page document that was released by the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport, that is Kipchumba Murkomen. But also what is coming out is that the key issues that had been raised, much as this document had been asked for so long for it to be made public, key issues, particularly the collateral that Kenya put when they were signing this SGR deal. As it turns out, this wasn't really quite captured so well in terms of detail in this document that was made public. Over time, the parliamentary committee had talked of Kenya Railway Corporation, that is KRC, as well as Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, being the collateral that Kenya had put in the 477 billion SGR loan procured. But then these details weren't captured well. But also, if you really quite interacted with this document, you realize there's that aspect of, in the event that there's a dispute or a bit of ruffles here and there, then this particular case, in the event that that happens, is supposed to be solved or, to be tackled in Beijing, that is in China, as well as the input of China laws. And so the primal question that was being asked is that then where does this put Kenya in the event of a dispute? So then if you're using China laws and, it being tackled in Beijing, where does this put Kenya as a country, and where does this put, the Kenyan laws there? So that is part of also what was being asked as part of what was revealed in this particular document. And lastly, on the last page of the Daily Nation, we look at what is happening in the education sector. Again, also a story that has been captured there on the People Daily, and this is in respect to those, that statement rather that was mentioned over the weekend by the CS Education, that is Ezekiel Machogu, of a proposed plan to sort of like halt the disbursing of funds to public universities. Of course, a statement that has, quite ruffled feathers there in respect to various stakeholders. The UASU Secretary General also weighed in on the matter. Student leaders from various public universities equally weighed in on this matter, citing the fact that if this were to in any way be implemented, then in a good way, it locks out students, particularly those coming from needy families who would otherwise want to seek higher education learning. But again, we wait to see how all this will unfold over time. Regina. That story of the SGR also found its way onto this paper. Actually, it is under the special report that further details on how much was, according to the documents, which are not fully complete, actually. We understand the document is so large, we're looking at around 900 pages. But what has been made available, journalists have made do with it and have compiled special reports that are also on our website. But now here on this particular paper, it goes further to just detail how much was spent, what happened. Remember that on May 2022, that actually marked the five years since the operationalization of the SGR, the Madaraka Express there, and this was quite the occasion there. If I can take you down memory lane, where we had the former president, President Uhuru there, take a ride on the SGR all the way and come back to the capital. Now, it is said that this particular project is iconic and government continues to label it as such, but there's been conversation, especially when it comes to skills transfer. Now, in this particular article there, it indicates that the Chinese were supposed to hand over skills and much of the running of the SGR. And given that the Chinese were in control of the operations, including driving the locomotives, now it was expected that Afristar, which is a subsidiary of the Chinese company that is CRBC, which built the railway, would train and equip Kenyans with the knowledge and skills to run the line, but as it stands, they are still calling the shots on the iconic piece of transport there, of infrastructure, railway infrastructure there. And so tomorrow the Supreme Court will be making public, will be making the final decision when it comes to the SGR deal. So the front page, load of hot air, Murkomen fails to give SGR deal. False Start Transport sensationally announced the government made public the standard gauge railway contract between Kenya and China, but it turned out to be bits and pieces of the pact, and apparently he needs Chinese permission to make it public. If you have come across this particular detail, some of us in the business desk have come across this particular document. Well, there are clauses there that makes you raise eyebrows. Is that this particular deal was made in tune with the Chinese law, and in the event that there is a dispute, this dispute is going to be deliberated upon not on Kenyan soil but in China, Beijing. That's just some of the issues that are contained in the document that was made public by the CS there. It also indicated that the materials that were used for the construction of the standard gauge railway were sourced from China, and that was a clause that was included in this particular deal. Further on, to actually help the country, rather Treasury, pay off the debt that was, the monies borrowed from the Chinese to construct this particular railway. That saw the rise of the Railway Development Levy, and it was charged on Kenyans in 2013. The levy was initially pegged at 1.15% and was later raised to 2% in the Finance Act of 2019. So in as far as math is concerned, between the financial year 2013, 2014 and June last year, the taxman collected at least 163.4 billion from the levy. This levy was imposed on all imports and has played part in making imports costly and in turn pushed up the cost of living. Treasury has denied reports that at some point it defaulted on repaying the SGR loans in July, and that the Exim Bank of China penalized Kenya a cool 1.31 billion shillings. As journalists, especially financial journalists, will continue keeping tabs on that as we await the decision that is going to be made by the Supreme Court tomorrow in regard to the SGR deal. So that's just the main read on the front page of the Standard, that also includes what Kenya is bringing back home from Egypt, where COP27 is happening, and President William Ruto there got to meet with the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And now, owing to that particular meetup on, the precipice of matters of climate change, is that the UK has promised to fast-track a 500 billion shillings project that include the Mendengai geothermal, 2.5 billion shillings, that is led by GDC and Globelec. We have 25 billion shillings Grand Heights Fall, that investment in Tana River that will generate 1,000 megawatts of electricity, as well as 7.5 billion project that is the Malundi solar expansion, the 40 megawatts plans to double the size of Malindi solar and battery storage. That's just but a sneak peek of the stories that have found their way on the front page of this particular issue, including a recap of what happened yesterday in the new round of talks between Ethiopia and the Tigray talks, where we know former president Uhuru Kenyatta there has been leading those talks with other various African representatives, so to speak. Over to you, Victor.
Right. On the front page of the Star newspaper here, dilemma: Ruto Raila allies battle for 9 jobs. That is the East Africa Legislative Assembly. 241 allies. We have got Raila's daughter, nephew, first cousin, Kalonzo's son among Azimio applicants. KANU Chairman Gideon Moi and Secretary General Nick Salat are tussling for the jobs. Take a look at that story. On the front page, there's an interesting bit here. Azimio Kenya Kwanza hands exposed in KQ pilot strike. That story is well fleshed out there for you on page 6. You can take a look at that. Wednesday nomination exercise will pave the way for the election exercise is scheduled on November 17th, with both houses voting through secret ballot to elect 9 representatives. That is the representatives to the East African Legislative Assembly. Azimio Kenya Kwanza hands exposed in KQ pilot strike. Unionists say that top officials in government and opposition backing 400-member association. And of course, the CEO, Alan Kilavuka, yesterday called on the striking pilots to resume work. And of course, he also said that a certain percentage of flights have so far resumed. Police chiefs face contempt suit in graduates' pay dispute. The officers want Kinothia and top police officers summoned and punished for disrespecting a high court ruling which reinstated their salaries. This is according to the officers who said that they have instructed their lawyers, Charles Kanjama, to issue a demand notice to the NPSC chairperson and the IG, notifying them of the intended suit. Now, this is as a result whereby the graduate police officers are now heading back to court to sue the chairman of the National Police Service Commission, Eliud Kinuthia, and the Inspector General of Police for non-payment of their salaries. Okay, very quickly, drought forces Kajiado herders to change diet, eat githeri for survival. Their animals have died in droves. They have to share the little they have with their neighbors. And animals are, of course, the main source of livelihoods, but now the severe drought has led to the death of animals leaving the communities without any source of food. Again, the story here on both full page, on page 8 and 9, covering the drought situation in the country. All right, so that is as far as what we have here on the People Daily, coming at a time now that Japheth Koome will face the Parliament today, vetting committee on his suitability to take that position of the IG. That is being conducted today in Parliament. All right, so Regina, Doreen, our very own Catherine Kasavuli is at KNH, and yesterday there was an appeal for a blood donation. I think we can still do that, that anyone who is able to have some time to head to the Kenyatta National Hospital, that is the blood transfusion unit, and donate blood. We all know Catherine Kasavuli, and of course our prayers are with her at this particular point, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is the KNH private wing there. You know, sometimes the much you can do is just be there, visit. It's one of those good things that you can do. It shows that you are in more like solidarity, and sometimes, you know, one's presence could do a lot. So if you can make your way there, donate that blood, whichever form of help you can offer, it will all go down in terms of gratitude.
Now, in regard to that particular issue with our colleague Catherine Kasavuli, a veteran broadcaster and journalist, is that we had a blood drive yesterday, and those who could not make it yesterday are encouraged to, you know, make their way to KNH, as you've mentioned there, Victor. If they want, there's a card that has been made public by the family, who are also going to be giving an updated statement in regard to her health status. I understand she went through surgery, but that outcome of the surgery and such can only be relayed by members of the family, and now that is the son. So we are waiting direction from the members of the family. But if anyone out there could make it to the Kenyatta National Hospital private wing there, you can have a look at our website. We've also printed out a certain document that you need to indicate that you're there for purpose XYZ, and that is donating blood. And there have been numerous questions from our viewers as well as our listeners across our radio stations, that is it open, what blood group are we looking at? Now, for you to donate blood, actually, it's not about the blood group per se in this situation. You just walk in, donate blood, then they are going to use. They have a blood bank, so they just replenish, you know, their storage, and even as you give blood, you are replenishing your own supply. So, as Doreen has said, sometimes there's nothing much you can do, but the little we can goes a long way. Further details will be made public by the family as we proceed, and you can look out for our various social media platforms as well as, you know, TV and radio in regard to an update. And we continue keeping tabs as well as praying for her quick recovery. Thank you, everyone. We got even feedback from our own, very own Sundowner fans there, given that this is a particular group on social media there that has over 300,000 followers, who are asking when, where can they donate this blood. We also had our very own colleague also, that is Karen Kibet, leading a few of us to just go and donate blood. Thank you very much. We appreciate the gesture. Keep the prayers coming. Everyone needs some prayer at some point, and it is Kasavuli's turn, so let's stand with her at this point. Quick recovery to her. Just to remind you that it is 12 days to go, and KBC Channel 1 is going to be showcasing the Qatari World Cup, so to speak. I pray and believe that you have already picked up a team. And when you talk about a team, we'd want to look at what happened in the previous World Cups. I don't know if Victor Doreen, you have a memorable moment when it comes to matters World Cup. For me, I will go back to the 2010 World Cup, and this was held in South Africa, and there was so much hope for Africa up until Ghana there lost to Uruguay, and I really I'm still hurting after that missed penalty by Asamoah Gyan. I couldn't believe that he missed that particular penalty, and that is how Ghana was bundled out over the games, and we were riding, Africa's hopes were riding on the team there, given that it was last to be eliminated, and for the first time since we began the World Cup, there was no African country to represent Africa in the games that were held in South Africa, making history there. Now there's been talk. I want to remind you of Nigeria's game in the subsequent World Cup there, and you remember this term, over Diba. Do you remember that? Over Diba. Over Diba. And when we watched that game, it felt as if this person who was chanting in the crowd, over Diba, actually made the striker miss out, And now the question is there witchcraft when it comes to the World Cup? And talking about witchcraft, there's a whole 2-3 pages of matters of sports and looking at matters of World Cup, and there's a questions of claims of witchcraft during football. Let me just highlight some, then we can give your feedback, Victor and Doreen. So these are claims. Now, according to Tanzania's Yanga FC players, they urinated on the pitch to nullify a strange powder and broken eggs placed on the field by Simba at halftime. Yes, that is according to Tanzania's Yanga FC players.
Was it not just a response to call of nature?
I have no idea, but there was some.
You don't think about that.
Apparently, there was some
in such a
broken
time.
eggs.
You don't think about that.
Yes.
You don't really think about could be a call of nature. You think beyond the obvious.
Now, according to Cameroon coach Winifred Schaefer and goalkeeping coach Thomas Nkonko, they have been arrested for allegedly placing a charm on the pitch in 2022. This year, I'm talking about this year. Then we also have Senegal hired Ngoyi Lengulel Mbaye as a team doctor for the 2002 World Cup. And all this is just about, instances of witchcraft claims in football. Now we're talking about football and we're looking at the World Cup that is just about 12 days away. Now,
and this is emanating from Africans.
Yes.
Africa is our business. What can I say?
Let's go there and play football genuinely.
Let me tell you, yesterday I was reading an article that was saying about how us as Africans, we have very peculiar characters. Like mtu anaweza amua na travel, anaenda majuu, anaenda to the village, but hata sema mpaka afike hapo. Because they believe, when I tell you today I'm traveling to the state, you might just be doing something somehow. That, yes, So I wouldn't really say I am going somewhere up until I reach there. I confirm I am there. Then I tell you, all this while I was actually planning to travel.
That's really happened.
And you also, when you listen to what Regina has read, this is just emanating from African countries. There are just some peculiar characters that...
Superstition.
It's the way we think. And it's all in our mind.
Are you sure it's all in our mind? I'd say.
Let me tell you, actually, this conversation about witchcraft, Regina is...
No, I'm just saying, I'm just being the devil's advocate.
But there's one thing that I've come to believe over time in life, that it's all in your head. Like what whatever would happen to you is best believed. I'm not negating the fact that there's no witchcraft. All I'm just saying is that whatever you put in your head, whatever happens, it's because you had actually put it in your head. So the more you think about something, you start actually visualizing it. Inaanza kukua clear.
Basically, everything is in the head.
It's just...
Everything is in the head.
Regina, why haven't you read countries like France, Brazil, who are putting this things?
I have no problem. It's an article. But I want to remind you that during the most previous World Cup, we had, the whole world actually had, someone chant in the crowd, over Diba. Over Diba. And it happened. So your guess is as good as mine, just to remind you that the World Cup...
For this World Cup, I'm rooting for Brazil.
I think everyone is rooting for Brazil.
Africa, Senegal.
Senegal, I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's wait and see how it's going to pan out.
Yeah.
Over the bar.
Someone has already begun putting some things over there, so...
No.
Tuseme too. Africa is our business, and this is Africa.
Yes.
And being Africa, this is actually Kenya, where Kenya Broadcasting is going to be bringing you the World Cup. World Cup, iko KBC, so save the date, isn't it?
Yeah.
12
days to go, yes.
And as we close, Aston Villa ilifanya ile kitu.
We ain't going there, please. You know, we cannot have
Arsenal finding their way on top of the table is really, they are not...
We are not talking, I'm talking about World Cup. By the way, we're even done. We're even done with this particular conversation.
Regina, don't take offense. 3-0, kuna next time. Okay, never worry.
I just want to say that as we bring this to a close, Games are weekend zilisha, tugange yajayo. Let's watch Focus on the World Cup. And talking about Focus is that from 9 a.m. this morning, right here on KBC Channel 1 and Good Morning Kenya, we're going to be tackling the issue of high cost of fuel, and we're going to have retailers with us to just tell us, why are we paying so much at the pump? Do keep it right here. We take a quick breather, and we're going to be having a candid conversation linked up with our radio station that is hosted by Rashid Momkondo. So we're going to be getting that link. So keep it here. We are still live. We like your feedback. I can already see a majority of you are on Twitter. We are going to be sampling that at the tail end of this particular show. See you in a few.
The shroud of energy over Master is rather thick and heavy. I'm not even able to get any closer. Such powerful energy couldn't be obtained without thousands of years of cultivation. It seems Master will be resuscitated sooner than I expected.
I didn't realize you exhausted your energy to refine that pill. That explains why your king brought me in. And just in time, too. Had I been a few hours late, it would have been too late for you. What's this?
Genova, I've been around a long time. It's so obvious you're lying. But I understand. You're only doing it to comfort me. What on earth is going on? Can you tell me the truth? I could really use some answers.
So tell me, which team are you playing for, my dear Rene? Is it your damn father's team? Or is it mine?
Yes, you are my son, Tobias.
Do you remember? Do you remember you once asked me to help you find your son? Well, here I am.
Why is Dad with another woman? What are you going to tell her? I mean, at the end of the day, you have no right over her or her life.
What do you want? What are you doing here?
Hey, You still have the audacity to look at me that way? In your repulsive state? Really now?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean? I saw you, Almudena. I saw you in the cafeteria hugging Jaime, Gisella's husband. To be honest, I never thought you could do it. But you know what? You have no idea how much it disappoints me.
I'm sorry to inform you that you will never be able to speak again. Apart from that, your hands are useless.
No. This cannot be happening to me, Doctor. I can't be...
Kumbuka kwa ndani ya mpango mzima wa kipindi Good Morning Kenya, na karibu sana upande wa pili KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya. Kipindi hewani ni Zinga, ukiwa nami mtangazaji wako, jina langu naitwa Rashid Momkondo, na upande wa pili ninaye mwenzangu Dora Manya. Mtazamaji, katika demokrasia kuna serikali na vile vile pia kuna upinzani. Katika taifa letu la Kenya kuna serikali inayoongozwa na Rais Daktari William Ruto, na vile vile pia kuna muungano wa upinzani unaongozwa na aliyekuwa waziri mkuu wa pili Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. Kumbuka, serikali na upinzani wote wana jukumu la uwakilishi kwa demokrasia na uongozi mwema unadumishwa humu nchini kila wakati. Swali ni je, serikali ina jukumu lipi kuhakikisha inafanya kazi, na vile vile upinzani unatekeleza jukumu lake kwa njia ipi? Tukumbuke, Rais William Ruto amekuwa katika mstari wa mbele kusema kwamba hakutakuwa na handshake iliyokuwa katika serikali ya Rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta. Upinzani nao wanasema hawana nia ya kuwa na handshake. La muhimu ni kuangazia jinsi kila upande unahakikisha kwamba maendeleo ya nchi yanapatikana. Hii leo mtazamaji, bila kupoteza nukta sekunde wala dakika, ndani ya studio ninaye Mheshimiwa Nabii Nabwera ambaye ni mbunge wa Lugari na mwenyekiti wa kamati ya elimu katika bunge la kitaifa, na vile vile pia niko naye Mheshimiwa John Yutu ambaye ni senator wa kaunti ya Murang'a na mwenyekiti wa kamati ya elimu katika bunge la Senate. Mheshimiwa Nabii, karibu sana.
Asante sana. Kwanza nikosoe kidogo, mimi ni mwanakamati tu wa kamati ya elimu, si mwenyekiti. Kwa sababu mwenyekiti unashikiliwa na walio tengeneza serikali kufuatana na kanuni za bunge.
Labda pengine nimeteleza ulimu, nasema Newton ndio mwenyekiti katika bunge la Senate.
Asante. Okay. Nimefurahi kurejea nyumbani. Wale wanaonijua, maisha yangu ya ujana nikianza kazi nilianzia hapa.
Kwa hiyo mheshimiwa ulikuwa mtangazaji?
Hapa niko nyumbani bwana.
Okay, karibu nyumbani.
Niko nyumbani, na leo ni siku nzuri kwangu kwa sababu soso ni siku yangu ya kuzaliwa na sherekea. Siku na...
Sasa mheshimiwa, mbona ukubeba keki?
Pengine iko njiani aje, hawezi. Ndio tunaanza. Siku ndio inaanza.
Sasa vile vile pia niko naye mheshimiwa kutoka ile kaunti ya Barua. Karibu sana mheshimiwa.
Asante Rashid. Na mimi nataka nichukue fursa hii kuwasalimia wasikilizaji na vile vile watazamaji wa kipindi hiki, na nimefurahi kwamba nimefika hapa. Nimefurahia mwaliko ili tujadiliane mambo ambayo yanahusu nchi yetu.
Bila shaka. Labda tukianza na swala la elimu, vizuri kwamba Mheshimiwa Nabii ni mwanakamati wa kamati ya bunge ya elimu, na wewe ni mwenyekiti katika bunge la Senate. Rais William Ruto alipoingia mamlakani aliweza kuteua jopo ama task force kuweza kuchunguza mtaala mzima wa CBC. Na hadi kufikia sasa bado ripoti haijamfikia. Na hivyo wajuzi tumemwona waziri wa elimu Bwana Machogu akisema kwamba sasa vyuo vikuu itabidi vijifadhili wenyewe. Msimamo wako ni upi kuhusiana na swala hili?
Asante sana. Na kama nilimsikia waziri Machogu vizuri, sidhani kwamba alisema kwamba ufadhili kwa vyuo vikuu utaondolewa kabisa. Nadhani kwamba nilichoelewa mimi ni kwamba alimaanisha hakutakuwa na ufadhili wa ziada, kwamba ule ufadhili ambao umekuwepo, manake lazima pia tuangalie muktadha ambao ulikuwa katika mazungumzo yake. Alisema kwamba vyuo vikuu vimekuwa vikiomba kwamba viongezewe ufadhili, na ninadhani kwamba alichokuwa anasema kwamba serikali kwa sasa haiwezi kufanya ni kutoa ufadhili wa ziada. Nilichoelewa ni kwamba ufadhili ambao umekuweko utaendelea, lakini ile wa ziada kwa sasa ndio hautatolewa mpaka labda hali ya uchumi iwe bora kidogo kuliko ilivyo sasa hivi.
Labda kabla kumpisha Mheshimiwa Nabii kuweza kupigilia pondo swala hii, ufadhili wa ziada ni upi?
Unajua, kumekuwa na kilio katika vyuo vikuu kwamba tuseme mgao ambao wamekuwa wakipatiwa na serikali hautoshi kwa sababu ya mambo kama utafiti maarufu kama research, na wamekuwa wakiomba kwamba ikiwa wataweza kuongezewa mgao, basi itawasaidia katika utafiti na katika kuboresha hali ya vyuo na masomo katika vyuo vikuu. Na nafikiria kwamba huu ufadhili zaidi ambao wamekuwa wakiomba ndio ambao Waziri Machogu alikuwa anazungumzia, kama nilivyoelewa mimi.
Tupate kauli yake Mheshimiwa Nabii.
Jinsi Senator alivyosema, ni kweli kwamba nilipoangalia mazungumzo ya waziri, alikuwa anazungumzia kuhusu ufadhili wa ziada. Lakini hata hivyo ingelikuwa amesema kwamba kutakuwa na ufadhili, hana huo uwezo. Huo ni uwezo wa bunge. Kuna bunge la seneta. Bunge ni ukawa pesa, ndiye inapeana maadili ya ugawaji. Hana huo uwezo kwa hakika. Kwa hivyo hawezi pika marufuku ufadhili wa vyuo vikuu kama bunge imeamua kwamba vyuo vikuu vitaendelea kufadhiliwa.
Vipi kuhusiana na swala zima hili la CBC? Maoni yanaendelea kutolewa. Kuna baadhi wanasema kwamba mfumo wa upendi, kuna wengine wanasema wanaupendi na mpaka kumeundwa jopo. Kauli yako ni ipi?
Kwanza ukweli ni huu. Nikiwa mimi nilikuwa mwanafunzi kwa mfumo wa 763 na nikawa katika kutekeleza 844, na mimi nina watoto ambao sasa ni wako katika mfumo wa CBC, na niko katika bunge, na nimeona nchi hii ikipita kwa hizo mifumo zote mitatu. Nitakwambia bila hofu, mimi kama mbunge wa Lugari ni nawashiria na ninajua kwamba mfumo utasaidia nchi hii kubadili hata jinsi tunavyoendesha mambo yetu, mawazo, jinsi tunataka kuendeleza vijana ni CBC. Kwa hivyo mimi ni mwanadau mkali wa CBC. Na ninajua katika nyumba yangu, nimekuwa nikimweleza ndugu yangu Senator, katika nyumba yangu niko na kijana kwa standard 8 anaenda kufanya KCPE. Is an A student. Najua atapata alama zaidi ya 400. Ni mzuri. Na niko na kijana yuko grade 6. Lakini hata vyumba vyao vya kulala, ukiona huyu kijana yangu wa grade 6, chumba chake vile anakipanga, chumba chake, usafi ulio katika chumba chake, na uangalie na huu wangu wa standard 8 ni tofauti sana. Hata mawazo, hata nikienda nao kwa mfano tukienda nje kujiburudisha nao weekend, mkifika kule, ule wangu wa class 8 anazungukia tu mahali niko, dadi tufanye nini. Huyu mwingine akifika huko anakuja kuambia mimi naenda swimming, naenda kufanya mambo haya. Kwa hivyo huu ni mfumo ambao utabadilisha mawazo yetu, mawazo ya Wakenya. Tunataka mfumo wa elimu ambao unapanua mawazo ya Mkenya. Na unajua jambo ambalo ni muhimu sana ambalo Wakenya wanapoteza ni kwamba mfumo wa elimu ambao ulioko ni mfumo ambao unaashiria kwamba kila mmoja ataajiriwa kazi, white collar job. Hakuna kazi aina hiyo. Tunapambana na zaidi ya watu milioni 7 hawana ajira. Mfumo huu wa CBC unaashiria wewe kama una talanta yako, tuipalilie hiyo talanta. Kwa mfano, mbona mchezaji wa mpira kama Olunga unampeleka kwa darasa ya physics ama kemia, afanye nini huko? Itamsaidia nini? Tukuze talanta yake, atengeze pesa zake, Kenya ipate ushuru kutoka kwa hizo pesa zake, tuendeleze nchi.
Bila shaka ni kauli yake Mheshimiwa Nabii akipigia pondo swali la CBC. Turudi kwako Mheshimiwa Senator. Serikali ya Kenya Kwanza imeingia mamlakani kwa sasa, ni chini ya miezi miwili. Sijui kauli yako ni vipi kuhusu utendakazi wake, na imeingia na bahati mbaya kwa sababu imeingia kuna ukame, kuna mfumuko wa bei ya vyakula.
Hii serikali ni changa mno, na kama ulivyosema, ndio inaenda kumaliza mwezi wa pili tangu Rais William Ruto apishwe kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Na ukiniuliza, ama kama ulivyoniuliza, kuna mambo kadhaa ambayo yamefanywa. Mwanzo kabisa ukiangalia katika judiciary, rais alipoingia kwa mara ya kwanza, nafikiri siku yake ya pili, kuna majaji ambao walikuwa wameteuliwa, hawakuwa wameapishwa, akaona kwamba wameapishwa, na hilo lilikuwa ni jambo nzuri. Tumeona kwamba bei ama mbolea ambayo bei yake ilikuwa iko juu mno, bei zimeanza kushuka, na hii mbolea inaendelea kupelekwa katika sehemu tofauti za nchi yetu. Bei za mafuta ya kupikia ambayo kila mmoja wetu hapa hutumia na hununua, ukweli ni kwamba bei hizo zimeteremka. Jambo ambalo kidogo linaleta shaka labda ni bei za unga na bei za tuseme mafuta ya petroli, diesel. Na kama unavyojua ni kwamba Roma haikujengwa kwa siku moja kama wanavyosema wazungu. Na mimi nikiangalia mikakati ambayo imewekwa na hii serikali, naona kwamba siku zijazo mambo yatakuwa hata ni mazuri zaidi. Kwa hivyo nilikuwa nagusia tu jambo moja mawili yale ambayo serikali hii ya Kenya Kwanza imeweza kutimiza. Jambo la CBC kidogo, pia serikali ya Mheshimiwa Rais William Ruto, tumeona kwamba ni kweli ameweza kuunda jopo kazi liende lichukue maoni ya Wakenya kuhusu CBC. Maana kama unavyojua ni kwamba kumekuwa na kilio sana kwa wazazi, washikadau wote wakitaka kujua je, CBC ni nini. Na kwa hivyo rais alipojua kwamba kuna hiki kilio, hakukimia tu, aliteua hilo jopo ambalo linaendelea kutoa maoni ya Wakenya. Na kwa hivyo kuna mambo mengi ambayo serikali imefanya kwa muda mfupi huo ambapo imekuwa katika mamlaka. Na CBC kidogo ukinikubalia nigusie, niseme nakubaliana na ndugu yangu Mheshimiwa Nabii Nabwera hapa, kwamba ikiwa tunataka kwamba nchi yetu tumalize tatizo ama shida ya ukosefu wa kazi, CBC ndiyo itakayoleta suluhu hiyo. Kwa nini nasema hivyo? Nasema hivyo kwa sababu CBC kinachoiongoza sana ni kwamba kila mtoto anapozaliwa huwa na tuseme na competence yake, ama huwa na talanta ile ambayo ameumbwa nayo. Shida ambayo tumekuwa nayo na mfumo wa 8-4-4 ni kwamba kila mmoja, ni kwamba kila mtu ama kila mtoto, kila mwanafunzi amekuwa ni kwamba asipowezana na elimu ya kimasomo yeye basi anaonekana ni kama failure. Na ilhali Mungu hakuumba watu wote. Hata Biblia inasema kwamba vipawa ni tofauti. Na kwa hivyo CBC uzuri wake ni kwamba inataka iweze kutambua, je, mtoto fulani ama mwanafunzi fulani yeye alichobarikiwa nacho kama talanta ni kipi? Kikishatambulikana, basi tumweke katika mfumo ambapo atakuza hicho kipawa. Na kama alivyosema ndugu yangu mheshimiwa nabii hapa, sasa kuna watu na tumewaona watu ambao wameweza kufanya vizuri sana katika mambo ya michezo, kufanya vizuri sana katika kazi zingine za mikono, kama vile hata uchomeleaji wa vyuma na mambo kama haya. Je, mtu kama huyu utamfundisha historia ya nini? Utamfundisha physics kwa muda huu wote? Kwa nini? Unachokesha akili yake kwa nini? Kwa hivyo CBC na kile ambacho watu wengi labda hawajaelewa ni kwamba specialization yenyewe ama ile kwamba kila mtoto atatumwa katika, tuseme, inaanza katika senior secondary school ambako tutakuwa na mifumo nafikiria mitatu. Nikitaja kwa kimombo tu, kutakuwa na arts and sports academy, kutakuwepo na kitu tunaita STEM, hiyo kumaanisha science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Kutakuweko pia na what we call languages and business. Hivi kwamba tukiona kwamba mtoto anapenda kuchokora stima kwa mfano, tutajua kwamba huyu labda kipawa chake ni mambo na wiring. Huyu basi akienda senior secondary school, hatutamfundisha mambo mengine ya historia, jiografia, manake hahitaji haya. Tutampeleka katika STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Huyu tutamuingiza katika technology ambako sasa ataenda asome electronics na ataweza kufana sana, manake kipawa chake kipo hapo. Na kwa hivyo CBC watu wakipatiwa information ama watu wakielekezwa waelezewe vizuri CBC inahusu nini, hata wazazi wataweza kuikubali, manake watajua kwamba manake kwa nini, why do we need all these graduates? Kwamba unataka sijui mtu amesoma amepata degree tusemea CRE, degree ya historia, art, anthropology, sociology, halafu tena anaenda kukulia nje ana kazi. Na huyu jamaa angeenda tu ajifunze electronics kwa mfano, anatengenezea watu simu, jioni yako na 1000 zake 3-4 na ako sawa.
Shikilia hapo mheshimiwa. Asante sana mheshimiwa John Nyutu, seneta wa kaunti ya Murang'a. Nikirudi kwako, tunagonga pale mahali niliuliza swali la kwanza. Na ni vizuri kwamba wewe ni wa Azimio mheshimiwa nabii na yeye ni wa Kenya Kwanza. Unakubaliana kwamba katika muda wa siku 60 wamefanya mawili matatu? Kwa sababu nimeona kiongozi wako mheshimiwa Raila Odinga na makamu wake Kalonzo Musyoka akiweza kuikosoa serikali.
Kwanza nataka niseme jambo moja muhimu hapa. Naam. Kwa Mkenya yeyote awe katika muungano wa Kenya Kwanza au muungano wa Azimio, matarajio ya huyo Mkenya ni kuwa anataka Kenya ambayo itafaulu. Anataka serikali ambayo itatenda kazi. Hakuna mtu anataka serikali ishinde kufanya kazi. Nikirejelea swali lako ni kwamba, ndugu yangu, unapotafuta kura, unatoa manifesto yako, unatoa maagizo. Kufuatana na maagizo hayo, Wakenya wanaamua, hata mimi katika constituency yangu wanaamua kama watakupea kura ama hapana. Shida tulio nayo wengi wetu ni hii: mtu mwenye njaa, hata ukumetengenezea mahakama nzuri na amelala njaa, atafika aje kwa hiyo mahakama? Itamsaidia nini? Mimi nakubaliana na seneta kwamba tumeona mambo hapa ya mahakama, tumeona mambo ameweka jobo la kazi la CBC ambalo nashukuru mimi, lakini mambo mawili muhimu ambayo serikali ilituagiza. Kwanza nafikiri nitumie lugha ya rais mwenyewe. Nikitupa Biblia chini, unga bei itarudi chini, mafuta itarudi chini. Nikikuja hapa petroli nimenunua 174 shillings.
Tena nasemekana huenda ikapanda zaidi.
Yes, per liter. Jana mke wangu alikuwa ananiambia, naomba tafuta unga ya bei ya chini kidogo. Akaniambia ni ile ile tu.
Alright, mtazamaji, kama unavyoendelea kuitazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1 ndani ya kipindi Good Morning Kenya, na vile vile pia kusikiliza kipindi Zinga kupitia KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya. Upande wa pili yuko mwenzangu Dora Manya, na studioni niko nao waheshimiwa Nabii Nabwera ambaye ni mbunge wa Lugari, na vile vile pia niko naye mheshimiwa John Newton ambaye ni senator wa kaunti ya Murang'a. Labda nirudi kwako alafu tuende kwake kabla kupata mapumziko. Tumeona kwamba mabunge yote mawili, bunge la kitaifa na ile bunge la seneti, yote yanakontroliwa na Kenya Kwanza. Uone kwamba hizi ni dalili za upinzani kufa nchini Kenya?
Unajua hii katiba ilitengenezwa kwa kimakini sana. Kama kuna mtu yote anaota ndoto kwamba hakutakuwa na walio wachache na sauti yao kusikika, huyo yuko dunia yake tu, si yetu sisi tunaishi Kenya. Sisi katika muungano wa Azimio tumekubaliana mambo matatu muhimu. Kwanza ni kuhakikisha kwamba tunatekeleza katiba jinsi ilivyo. Kwa sababu tumekula kiapo ya ambayo inatupatia ari ya kutekeleza hii katiba, kuilinda na kuhakikisha kwamba inatumika na Mkenya yoyote, akiwemo hata rais wa nchi, jinsi ilivyo tarajiwa. Jambo la pili ambalo tumekubaliana nalo ni kwamba ni jukumu letu kuhakikisha kwamba serikali iliyoko ikitaka kwenda kando na madhumuni ya katiba hii na utendakazi jinsi inavyostahili, tutawarejesha kwa njia kwa kuwakosoa na kuwaeleza jinsi inavyotakikana kuendesha kazi yao. Jambo la tatu ambalo tumekubaliana kwamba shida nyingi katika nchi hii ni jinsi ya kukadiria na kutumia fedha. Tutakuwa katika mstari wa mbele kuhakikisha kwamba rasilimali ya nchi hii haitumiki vibaya.
Mheshimiwa, kabla tuende mapumzikoni, naona mumeteka kila kitu, kamati zote muhimu mko nazo nyinyi, wabunge ni wenu. Kivyako unahisi kwamba kama anavyosema rais na naibu wake wanataka upinzani ambao wataweka on toes, lakini sasa upinzani hawako, mmewanunua?
Nafikiria kwamba kidogo nitakurekebisha kwamba upinzani haujanunuliwa. Lakini kunao ambao walichaguliwa wakiwa upande wa Azimio, lakini wakaona kwamba upande ule ni upande wa kuzama, na kwa hivyo wakaona ni afadhali wajiunge na upande ambao waliona kwamba ni upande unaoendelea kunawiri, na kwa hivyo upinzani haujanunuliwa. Na kama alivyosema ndugu yangu ni kwamba sauti zao wakiwa ndio wachache bado zitaendelea kusikika, manake they will have their say. They may not have their way, lakini they will have their say, kwamba wao watakuwa wakikosoa serikali. Na rais mwenyewe amesema kwamba yeye yurathi kubali kwamba akosolewe, na kinachonifurahisha na rais ni kwamba amesema yeye hataingia katika handshake, na upinzani nao pia wamesema hawataingia katika handshake. Na kwa hivyo unajua, ikiwa hakuna kitu unachoficha, wewe uko sawa. Na kwa hivyo wanataka kuamini kwamba, unajua, Rais Ruto ni kiongozi anayejiamini, na ndio sababu amesema, kwa sababu yeye anajua mipango aliyo nayo kwa Wakenya ni mipango mizuri, ndio sababu amesema basi wale walio wachache ni sawa, waje watukosoe, maanake hakuna kitu ambacho wamepanga kuficha. Na kwa hivyo nadhani kwamba mambo yanaenda vizuri, kwamba ni muhimu pia tuwe na upinzani ama walio wachache, ili kwamba wakiona excesses za serikali, if at all, kama kutakuwa nazo, basi wanasema, ili kwamba wananchi wapate huduma zinazofaa. Lakini nataka nikuhakikishie kwamba ukiona mtu anayesema kwamba mimi mkitaka kuongeza moto jehanamu ongezeni, ana hakika kwamba yeye hatafika jehanamu. Na kwa hivyo ukiona rais atasema kwamba nyinyi upinzani nendeni mkanikosoe, anajua kwamba yeye hajapanga kuficha chochote ama hajapanga kutohudumia Wakenya. Na kwa hivyo mimi nataka niwahakikishie Wakenya kama mwana Kenya kwanza, kwamba tulivyo mpima na tukamuona rais wetu William Ruto ni kwamba ni mtu aliye na moyo wa kuhudumia Wakenya, ni kiongozi ambaye ana Wakenya katika moyo wake. Na kwa hivyo hata kama ndugu yangu anasema kwamba judiciary ama wanasheria kwamba si jambo la maana sana kwa watu walio na njaa, lakini mambo yamepangwa vizuri. Na tunajua kwamba rais na serikali yake amesema kwamba yeye anataka kufadhili uzalishaji wa chakula, sio chakula kwa sasa, kwa sababu kuna kitu tunaita long term na short term. Ni kwamba tukitoa ufadhili ama ile compensation tutoe kwa consumption, ameona kwamba jambo lile halitaweza it's not sustainable. Na kwa hivyo akaona ni vizuri aweze kutoa ufadhili katika uzalishaji, maarufu kama production. Na kwa hivyo mambo haya suluhu ikipatikana itakuwa ni ya kudumu. Na kwa hivyo, na tunajua kama nilivyotangulia kusema kwamba bei za mafuta ya chakula ama ya kupikia zimeenda chini, na huo ni ukweli ambao unaweza kudhibitishwa kutoka kule sokoni. Na mambo yanaendelea yakiwa mazuri, na nafikiria tuki miezi mingine 2-3 nafikiria shida zote tulizo nazo zitakuwa zimetatuliwa.
Bila shaka mtazamaji, unaendelea kutizama runinga ya KBC Channel 1. Kipindi ni Good Morning Kenya, upande wa pili ukiwa na wenzangu Victor Lo, Dorina Range na Regina Manyara. Mwelekezi wangu upande wa pili Ben Kamutu, kwa upande wa runinga ananiambia Rashid, tunahitaji pumziko fupi. Kumbuka ndani ya studio niko nao waheshimiwa, na waheshimiwa wa leo ni wapole sana. Kama ni wengine wangekuwa shavua na mashati hapa, lakini hawa ni wapole, wanapiga facts baada facts. Pumziko fupi mtazamaji, lakini zaidi ya yote kumbuka #World Cup iko KBC. Upande wa pili yuko mwenzangu mtoto wa Kiafrika Dora Manya.
Bila shaka shukrani zaidi. Tunasonga mbele Rashid na
So tell me, which team are you playing for, my dear Rene? Is it your damn father's team? Or is it mine?
Yes, you are my son, Tobias.
Do you remember? Do you remember you once asked me to help you find your son? Well, here I am.
Why is Dad with another woman? What are you going to tell her? I mean, at the end of the day, you have no right over her or her life.
What do you want? What are you doing here?
Hey, you still have the audacity to look at me that way? In your repulsive state? Really now?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean? I saw you, Almudena. I saw you in the cafeteria hugging Jaime, Gisela's husband. To be honest, I never thought you could do it. But you know what? You have no idea how much it disappoints me. I'm sorry to inform you that you will never be able to speak again. Apart from that, your hands are useless.
No. No. This cannot be happening to me, Doctor. I can't be...
Hi, my name is Mr. Otieno. Na ukumbuke FIFA World Cup 2022 iko hapa. Here in KBC. Na kuhitaji. Karibu.
Mtazamaji, karibu tena ikiwa ni awamu ya pili hii ndani ya kipindi Good Morning Kenya kwenye runinga unaipenda ya KBC Channel 1 na vile vile pia KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya. Kipindi hewani ni Zinga, upande wa pili uko naye Dora Manya, mimi naitwa Rashid Momkondo na ninao waheshimiwa ndani ya studio, mheshimiwa Nabii Nabwera mbunge wa Lugari, na vile vile pia niko naye mheshimiwa Joe Newton ambaye ni senator wa Gatuzi la Murang'a. Tunajadili masuala yenye umuhimu mkubwa sana wa kitaifa. Tulikuwa tunaenda mapumzikoni, kuna vitu tulikuwa mnanongonezana hapa. Kuna kasumba kwamba bunge la seneti ni bunge la wazee, alafu bunge ile la kitaifa ni bunge la vijana. Wasemekana kwamba seneti wana nidhamu, bunge la kitaifa wana nidhamu. Sijui kauli hii mnaiweka vipi?
Kwanza nataka nianze na jambo lako la mwisho. Kwamba nidhamu ni kitu ya kibinafsi. Jinsi tu vile umesema, umeshangaa jinsi mimi na ndugu yangu seneta wa Murang'a, ndugu Nyutu, tunaendesha mambo yetu. So nidhamu ni jambo la mtu binafsi. So sikubaliani na maoni yako kwamba bunge la kitaifa halina nidhamu.
Mnapigana sana mheshimiwa, kule mnarusha maji firimbi.
Sijaona maji kirushwa, sijaona firimbi. Lakini pia mahali kuna watu wengi, saa zingine kutakuwa na changamoto ya kuendesha. Lakini pia niseme tabia ya bunge inaashiria uongozi ulio katika hiyo bunge. Kama speaker anaheshimika na ana maadili, bunge itakuwa na shida. Na nafikiri hata ndugu yangu atajua, atasema hivyo. Na pia viongozi ule walio wengi, majority leader, na walio wachache, kwa sababu ndio wanapeana na whips, au ndio wanapeana mwelekeo wa kila upande jinsi ya kuendesha mambo yao. Jambo langu la pili ambalo umesema bunge la seneti ni la wazee. Angalia ndugu yangu hapa. I think the youngest senator is among the youngest members of parliament. Edgar wa Migori. Ni kijana mdogo sana. Sifuna ana miaka mingapi? Ukiangalia seneti ya saa hii, Aaron Cheriot, ni vijana, Cherergei, ni vijana. So ile kweli seneti ilikuwa ya kwanza 2013. Ilikuwa ya wakongwe wa siasa, ambaye ilikuwa na seneta Ongeri, Orengo, seneta Nyong'o, walikuwa wakongwe wa siasa. Na pengine jinsi siasa ya Kenya ama jinsi hivi katiba ilivyoandikwa, walipata kwamba si jinsi ilivyo. Walikuwa wanafikiri seneti ya Kenya ni kama seneti ya Marekani. Unajua seneti ya Marekani ndio huwa ina usemi wa mwisho kwa jambo lote la kitaifa. Jinsi hii katiba iliandikwa, na mimi nimekuwa na shida na hii katiba kidogo, ndio sababu nilikuwa na support BBI. Nilitaka hilo jambo lieleweke vizuri, kwa sababu katika Kenya hakuna bunge ile seneta au National Assembly, hakuna bunge ile na usemi wa mwisho, na hiyo inaleta shida mara nyingi. Ingelikuwa bora tuangalie hii katiba na tuone bunge moja iwe ndio ina usemi wa mwisho kwa kila jambo, na huo ungekuwa mwelekeo mzuri. Kwa hivyo si ukweli kwamba seneti ni ya wazee. Hapana.
Inasemekana kwamba wana hekima.
Yes, inatakiwa iwe ni seneti ya hekima. Kama wanayo ama hawana sitaki kusema. Lakini kufuatana na mfumo wa bunge mbili duniani mzima, seneta inatakiwa iwe ni, ndio sababu nilikwambia kule Marekani seneti wakishatoa mwelekeo, nchi inashika hiyo mwelekeo. Na ungeniuliza haya ni maoni ya kibinafsi, si maoni ya bunge. Ungeniuliza mimi, ningelitaka seneti ya Kenya iwe katika hiyo kiwango.
Bila shaka. Mheshimiwa, ili swala unalichukuliaje? Kwa sababu ni kweli kuna wakati mwingine unapata kwamba kuna mswada umepitishwa kwenye bunge la kitaifa, tena mpaka upitie seneti, mara mnagongana. Je, ipo haja ya mabadiliko ya katiba, tuwe na kama alivyosema Mheshimiwa Nabii kwamba tuwe na upper house ambao kukitetemeka tu inatoa uamuzi?
Ni kweli, na wale walioandika katiba nafikiria kuna jambo ambalo hawakuliwaza kwa upana zaidi. Manake kama anavyosema ndugu yangu Mheshimiwa Nabwera, seneti inafaa kuwa the upper house kama ilivyo Marekani, hivi kwamba bunge la kitaifa ama National Assembly ikipitisha jambo basi linakuja kwa seneti ili kwamba lipate uamuzi wa mwisho kabla ya kuwa kwamba ni sheria, ama kabla ya kuwekwa katika kupelekewa rais apige sahihi iwe ni sheria. Lakini hilo halikufanyika. Kuna matatizo mengi na kwamba hata mswada unaweza kupitishwa katika seneti, lakini lazima pia National Assembly ama bunge la kitaifa lipelekewe tena ili lipate kuidhinisha. Na kwa hivyo kama ilivyo sasa hivi, hata ni kama kwamba seneti ni kama ni kidogo iko chini ya National Assembly, na hivyo sivyo inavyofaa kuwa. Na kwa hivyo ikiwa itawezekana kwamba kuwe na marekebisho ya kikatiba ili kwamba seneti iwekwe katika hali yake, itakuwa ni vizuri. Manake tena ukiangalia seneta kampeni yake anafanya tu kama ya gavana. Kama mimi Murang'a niko na maeneo ya wakilishi bunge, yani constituencies 7. Na nimefanya kampeni katika maeneo yote hayo. Na kwa hivyo ukiangalia hivyo ni kwamba seneta anawakilisha eneo ambalo kijiografia ni kubwa zaidi. Maeneo kama kwangu maeneo 7, najua Mheshimiwa Boni Khalwale kwake kule Kakamega kwa mfano ana maeneo bunge 12. Sasa ukiangalia na anakuwa ni kama hata huko chini ya mbunge, basi kidogo inaleta shida. Shida nyingine ni kwamba seneta hana hata hela hata za kuweka petroli ama diesel katika gari yake kwenda kufanya ule ukaguzi wa miradi katika county. Lakini nikirejelea swala ulilosema kwamba bunge la kitaifa ni la vijana na seneti ni bunge la wazee, ukiangalia unaona kwamba kidogo sijazeeka. Na kama alivyosema ndugu yangu, tunaye seneta ambaye I think the youngest ama yule kijana sana ni seneta wa Nyandarua Medhu, ambaye umri wake ni miaka 31 na ni kijana barobaro. Ni vijana wengi, lakini tena kama na sijui kwa nini kubaliana sana na ndugu yangu Nabwera, wale wazee wa seneti ya kwanza, lakini sana tunasema ni seneti ya pili. Manake kulikuwa na seneti ya mwanzo pale wakati wa tulipopata uhuru. Na kwa hivyo seneti tulilo kwalo kwa sasa tunasema ni 4th Senate. Kwa hivyo katika 2nd Senate hiyo ambayo ilikuwa na wazee aliyowataja ndugu yangu, watu ama wale walifikiria kwamba seneti itakuwa ni upper house, na ndio sababu wengi wakapigania viti vya useneta, ingawaje baadaye walianza kumeza ya mate viti vya ugavana, wakiwepo Kiraitu Murungi, Anyang' Nyong'o. Tunajua kwamba James Orengo kwa sasa ni gavana kule Siaya, na wengi ambao hawakuwa wameelewa. Na kwa hivyo nafikiria ipo haja ya kupa seneti nguvu kidogo, nguvu zaidi, iwe kwamba it's the upper house. Manake kwa sasa haijulikani ni gani upper house. Naam.
Bila shaka nikirudi kwako Mheshimiwa Nabii Nabwera, ndo tumalizie. Tangu tujinyakulie uhuru, kwa sasa mtu anaweza sema kidogo demokrasia nchini Kenya imeweza kuwa. Kwa sasa Wakenya wamepongezwa baada ya kufanya uchaguzi. Tumefanya uchaguzi wa amani, matokeo yakatokea, kura, kesi kapelekwa mahakama ya juu, yakaamuliwa, mpaka sasa Kenya imetulia. Je, unahisi demokrasia yetu hadi kufikia sasa katika taifa letu iko kiwango gani?
Ukweli ni kwamba Rashid, katika nchi hii tumepiga hatua kidemokrasia. Nataka nikueleze, tuna changamoto zetu, lakini tumepiga hatua kubwa. Mimi ambaye naongea hapa nilikuwa katika harakati ya ukombozi wa nchi hii nikiwa mwanafunzi, na hata nikawekwa gerezani nikiwa mwanafunzi katika chuo kikuu. Kutoka mfumo wa chama kimoja kwenda vyama viwili, alafu tupate katiba ya 2010. Kenya hii imebadilika sana pakubwa. Asawa mimi mambo matatu muhimu ambayo yananifurahisha, licha ya kwamba niko na usia tofauti kwa jambo moja. Ya kwanza ni ukatuzi. Right? Na hapo ndio nina changamoto kidogo. Ningelipenda kuona, aswa ndugu yangu yuko hapa, ningelipenda kuona ukatuzi ukipewa nguvu zaidi. Hata hii vita ambayo ni ya presidential haitakuwa na maana. It will be kwa Kiingereza political science tunasema alitajibataj. Yeah. Siasa, watu watataka tu kiongozi ambaye ataunganisha wa Kenya, atakuwa baba wa taifa, kuunganisha wa Kenya. Si kwamba atakawa rasilimali. Unajua hii vita unaona kwa urahisi kubwa kwa sababu pato fedha nyingi zinabaki kwa serikali kuu. Na mimi hata nikiwa katika bunge kuu, National Assembly, ninaamini kwamba fedha nyingi zinatakiwa ziwekwe katika ukatuzi, sisimamiwe na Seneti. Tukifanya hivyo, nakwambia demokrasia ya nchi hii itakuwa sana. Jambo la pili ambalo limenifurahisha ni kwamba katika katiba hii hakuna jambo lolote serikali itatekeleza bila kuhusisha wananchi, public participation. Na ni muhimu sana. Licha ya kwamba viongozi saa zingine wanatumia ujanja, I've seen it. Unapata amedanganya, ametumia shortcut, njia fupi kusema amefanya public participation. Lakini katiba inahitaji kwamba kwa kila jambo lolote ambalo tunatekeleza kama nchi, wananchi wahusishwe mashinani na sauti yao isikike, ili tuendeleze hilo jambo. Jambo la tatu ambalo ni muhimu sana katika demokrasia yetu ni kwamba wewe na mimi sasa una nafasi kwenda kotini ikiwa haujatosheka na jambo lolote. Hata mimi kama mbunge wa Lugari, wananchi wa Lugari wana uwezo wa kabla ya miaka tano kusema tulimchagua huyu jamaa, lakini si vile tulimjua, si vile tuliwazia yeye ni namna hii. Kwa hivyo tunataka tuende kisheria, tupewe nafasi kabla ya miaka 5 tumlete mwingine. Hii demokrasia nzuri. Changamoto tulio nayo ni sisi viongozi. Unajua, mimi nikiamua kutotekeleza katiba ama kuisoma vingine, ni mimi. kama kiongozi. So viongozi tukiwacha tabia mbaya. Nitakwambia jambo moja ambalo linanikula akili. Na huyu ndugu yangu yuko hapa.
Ndio.
Katika hii katiba inaelezea kwamba unapotaka kuitumia, when you are interpreting it, lazima uitumie kwa njia ambayo inaendeleza umoja wa Kenya na maendeleo ya Kenya. It must be purposeful. Wewe na mimi na huyu ndugu yangu wa Senate atakwambia kwamba kama kuna kitu imetengeza nchi hii ikabadilika, ni kitu inaitwa CDF. Right? Lakini unapata mtu licha kwamba katiba imemwambia uangalie what is common good, anakuja anakuambia hii CDF haitakikani. You can't do that. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni mtu binafsi. Lakini kama nchi tumepiga hatua ambayo tunajivunia dunia mzima. Kwanza hapa ndani katika katiba yetu kuna Bill of Rights. Hakuna nyingine kama hiyo dunia mzima. Hakuna.
Bila shaka mtazamaji, tuna dakika kidogo tu kuweza kumaliza kipindi. Labda tupate kauli yake seneta wa gatuzi la Murang'a, Mheshimiwa Joe Nyutu. Je, unahisi kwamba Kenya imepiga demokrasia ama bado tunakandamizana?
Na asante sana Rashid. Mimi kwanza nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu ya hatua ambazo tumepiga kidemokrasia katika nchi yetu. Na idhibati tosha ni uchaguzi ambao umepita miezi miwili iliyopita. Kwamba tulienda katika uchaguzi, tuchachagua viongozi wote 6, na ingawaje kwamba kulikuwa na petition katika presidential election kwamba mahakama ya upeo ilipoamua kwamba Rais William Ruto alichaguliwa kikatiba na kwa njia nzuri, hakukutokea hata fujo ama vita. Na kwa hivyo ndio sababu nasema kwamba nashukuru Mungu kwamba tumepiga hatua na demokrasia yetu ikakua. Tukawa kwamba ni watu sasa ambao wanatii sheria, kwamba mahakama ya upeo ikiamua kila mmoja anakubaliana na uamuzi wa mahakama ya upeo. Na hiyo ni hatua kubwa sana ambayo tumepiga katika demokrasia. Kunazo changamoto bado, kwa sababu kama tu mtoto anavyokuwa, kuna changamoto. Wakati mwingine atakuwa ni mgonjwa, atahitaji kwamba apelekewe daktari ili kwamba aweze kutibiwa. Tuna matatizo hapa na pale. Ugatuzi aliyozungumzia ndugu yangu, ni kweli ugatuzi unaweza kusaidia sana nchi yetu, hasa katika ugamvi the national cake ama rasilimali zetu. Na ni kweli kwamba kaunti zetu zikipata hata uwezo zaidi, ni kweli kwamba pressure ya pale katikati itakuwa kidogo imepungua. Lakini nayo lazima tujiulize, je, tunapoendelea kuunga mkono ugatuzi, je, tunapoendelea kutuma pesa katika kaunti zetu, je, ni vigezo gani tutakavyotumia ili tuone kwamba kuna usawa? Manake ilivyo sasa, kama sasa kaunti ambazo zina wananchi wengi ama population iko juu kidogo, kama kwetu Murang'a, Kiambu, kidogo kuna shida. Manake unapata Kakamega pia, manake unapata kwamba mgao tunaopata unapata mgao tunaopata kulingana na idadi ya watu katika kaunti zingine, kwamba kuna kaunti ambazo zimependelewa na namna ya kugawa hizi pesa. Utapata kwamba hata bursaries kwa mfano, katika kaunti zingine mtoto anapata bursary hata ya as much as 30,000, ila hali katika kaunti zingine anapata 5,000 kwa sababu idadi ya watu iko juu. Na kwa hivyo hata tunapoendelea kufikiria, je, ni namna gani tuendeleze na tupatie nguvu ugatuzi zaidi, je, lazima pia tujiulize tutagawa hizi pesa namna gani? Na jambo la mwisho niseme pia hata katika constituencies ni vile vile. Unapata kwamba constituencies zingine, ukienda kama constituency ama eneo bunge la wakilishi bunge la Ruiru kwa mfano, unapata kwamba kuna idadi ya watu zaidi ya 1,200, ila hali unapata maeneo bunge mengine unapata kuna watu katika bunge by the way ambao wamechaguliwa na 5,000, watu 5,000. Kuna wengine wamechaguliwa na watu 1,100, na ikiwa kwamba unapatia kila mmoja wao kitita cha milioni 120, ni kwamba mmoja watu wake ni wachache na mgao ni ule ule. Kwa hivyo hapo lazima tufikirie tutafanya namna gani. Tuone kama pia tutaongezea maeneo bunge. Basi ikiwa tutaendelea kutumia maeneo bunge kama kigezo cha kugawa CDF, tuone kama tutaongeza maeneo bunge katika sehemu ambazo zina idadi kubwa ya watu, ili kuwe na ule usawa. Na mwisho kabisa, mimi alivyosema ndugu yangu, mimi kama Seneta Joe Nyuto wa kaunti ya Murang'a, mimi naunga mkono kwamba CDF iendelee, kwa sababu tumeona katika kaunti zingine tunaweza kuenda tuonyeshe kazi inayoonekana ambayo imefanywa na CDF, ambako hata huwezi kuona kazi iliyofanyika na kaunti. Na kwa hivyo kuamua kwamba CDF iondolewe, watakaoumia ni wananchi wetu. Na kwa hivyo mimi ni mmoja wa wale ambao hata kama niko seneti nasema kwamba ni lazima na ni muhimu sana CDF iendelee, ili wananchi wetu waendelee kupata huduma zinazotolewa na CDF, barabara, school fees, mambo kama hayo. Na kwa hivyo hayo ndio mambo ambayo labda tunataka tufikirie kidemokrasia na kikatiba, tuone ni vipi tunavyoweza.
Rashid, jambo moja muhimu seneta amelitaja. Kwa kweli ukiangalia jinsi tunagawa pesa, ule mtindo tunaotumia formula ya kukawa pesa za kwenda county zimenyanyasa county nyingi na zinafaidi county chache. County ya Kiambu, county ya Kakamega, county ya Nakuru, county ya Murang'a, Nairobi county, county ya Kisumu, county ya Kisii, county ya Bungoma zinahangaishwa na jinsi pesa inavyogawa. Mimi nimeona kwa kweli county moja ikipeleka watu 150 ina sponsor basari ng'ambo, county ya Mandera. Kwa hivyo maendeleo tunapangia wananchi, hatupangii udongo ama miti, ni wananchi. Formula ya kugawa pesa lazima ifuate wingi wa watu. One man, one shilling. CDF vile vile, kwa sababu kama ni hospitali, watu unanunua madawa kufuatana na vile watu wanakuja kwa hospitali. Kama ni shule, mbona katika tukifanya capitation ya education kwa national government tunapeana pesa kwa kila kichwa cha mtu, na tukikuja kwa kugawa pesa ya county tunapeana kwa udongo, kilomita? Hapana.
Naomba waheshimiwa, haya mazungumzo ni marefu na tuwezi kuyamaliza leo, na wingi wa matumaini kwamba nitawatafuta siku nyingine tuje tuendeleze. Mmenigusa sana kuhusiana na hili swala la mgao wa maeneo bunge na one man one vote one shilling. Tutakuja kuzungumzia siku nyingine, lakini mwelekezi wangu upande wa pili ananiambia muda wetu haunasi. Niweze tu kutoa shukrani za dhati kwa kuweza, licha shughuli zenu nyingi, kuja hapa ndani ya studio na kuzungumza na Wakenya. Ni matumaini yangu kwamba nitawapata zaidi. Shukrani sana Mheshimiwa Joe Nyuto kutoka Murang'a.
Asante.
Na vile vile pia shukrani sana Mheshimiwa Nabii Nabwera.
Nimefurahi kurejea nyumbani.
Sijui keki inakuja ama
inakuja, na mjue kwamba jambo la KBC likuja kule. Mnitegemee, tutatengeza. I want this broadcast KBC to be really a national broadcaster.
Ndio.
BBC is what it is kwa sababu inapata support ya serikali.
Sasa ni nyinyi wabunge msaidie shirika kule
South African support. Broadcasting Corporation is what it is, kwa sababu na nyinyi pia mfanye kazi nzuri vile mnavyoenda kufanya.
Asante, tutafanya, lakini na nyinyi pia kule bungeni tuteteeni, ama namna gani my friend?
Ni hivyo
namna hiyo. So you are promising us kwamba
it will be done this time, it will be done.
All right. Haya mtazamaji, basi kufikia hapo hatuna la ziada, lakini kukukumbusha tu ni kwamba kesho kupitia kipindi cha Zinga nitakuwa naye Mheshimiwa Peter Locha Kaponga, mbunge wa Sigoro, tukizungumzia masuala ya ukame, na siku ya Alhamisi kwenye kipindi Zinga kuanzia saa 2 hadi saa 3 takuwa naye naibu mwenyekiti wa kamati ya bunge kuhusiana na NGCDF aliyepia mbunge wa Matuga Mheshimiwa Kasim Asawa Tandaza. Haya yote mtazamaji na msikilizaji ni kwenye KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya. Basi kwa sasa niseme shukran sana kwa wale wote ambao wameweza kufanikisha kipindi hiki. Shukran sana kwa kikosi maalum ambapo kimewaleta waheshimiwa hawa chini ya Kanali Amiri Jeshi Mkuu Bwana Martin Kingasia na naibu wake Geoffrey Onditi, bila kumsahau Bi Lucy Wahome. Asanteni sana pia Klesesi Ndilo Momkondo na vile vile pia Bwana Kimani, asante sana, bila kusahau ndugu zangu nyote kutoka runinga KBC Channel 1, mwelekezi wangu Ben Kamuti na mwenzangu upande wa pili Dora Manya. Kutoka kwangu nasema sina la ziada. Jina langu naitwa Rashid Momkondo. World Cup iko KBC.
The shroud of energy over Master is rather thick and heavy. I'm not even able to get any closer. Such powerful energy couldn't be obtained without thousands of years of cultivation. It seems Master will be resuscitated sooner than I expected.
I didn't realize you exhausted your energy to refine that pill. That explains why your king brought me in. And just in time, too. Had I been a few hours late, it would have been too late for you.
What's this?
Genova, I've been around a long time. It's so obvious you're lying. But I understand. You're only doing it to comfort me. What on earth is going on? Can you tell me the truth? I could really use some answers.
The world's biggest sporting event is here with us. The FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar. KBC Television will air live 28 selected matches, while radio will beam live all the 64 matches. We would like to bring to the attention of the public that KBC is the only station that has exclusive 2022 FIFA World Cup free-to-air FTA broadcast rights for both TV and radio in the Kenya territory, and no other media outlet. Therefore, catch all the FIFA World Cup action live and exclusive on KBC TV and radio. KBC is indeed your true sports partner.
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Good morning. You're still watching Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1, and I'm Regina Manyara. As we had alluded to, after having, to listen to the leaders there talking about where we find ourselves as a country under this new administration led by none other than President William Ruto. Now we shift focus and talk about matters of high cost of fuel. In the next less than 11 days, so to speak, EPRA is going to be doing a review of the fuel prices. Currently, super petrol goes for 179 shillings per litre, while diesel fetches 165 shillings per litre and kerosene at 147 shillings per litre. The question is, why the high cost of fuel? And this morning I'm joined by none other than independent oil marketers and distributors, so to speak. And it is their moment to help us understand why we find ourselves in this predicament. I'm joined by Joseph Karanja, who's a chairperson of the Kenya Independent Petroleum Distributors Association, KIPEDA, as well as the chairperson, Irene Kimathi of Mount Kenya East Petroleum Distributors. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. Let's start off with the big elephant in the room. Why are Kenyans paying for so much at the pump? We start off with Madam Irene.
Yeah, basically, currently the international prices are high, though they are dropping. Also, our fuel sector is really overtaxed. We pay a lot of levies and a lot of taxes. And sometimes also you look at the market of the neighboring countries like Uganda and Tanzania, and the government will always want to make the prices go at almost one level with the neighboring countries. But basically what causes us to pay high prices on fuel is because of the taxes. The cost of buying fuel is not as high as the levies and the taxes that we pay.
For you, it is the taxes and the levies. Mr. Karanja, do you concur a view of a divergent view in regard to why are we paying for so much at the pump?
Yes, that is the main cause, and we have tried to talk about it. We have tried to press because there are so many levies. Petroleum is charged about 9 different levies. Some of them are really just punitive, and they make the price of this product to go very high. We are still not done with the government. We are still trying to push them. We are trying to use whatever avenues that we can get so that they may look at the taxation again. Otherwise, without the taxes, the
then
fuel...
Then we'd have affordable cost of fuel. So if you're given an opportunity to actually, try and harmonize these taxes and fuel and taxes and levies, what would you go for, Madam Irene?
Okay, in the whole outlook, our economy is not very bad. It can be able to carry the cost. Because when the international prices go down, the cost definitely will go down. These levies and taxes have been there, but now because of the international prices and the war in Ukraine and Russia, the prices have gone up. But now what you would want to look at, because when a client comes to our stations and finds the prices, the feeling is like we are the ones that get the whole chunk of money, and it's like we are the ones that have raised the prices for them, whereas when the prices are as high as they are, we are the ones that are suffering most. And in a time when the country is needing a lot of money, the taxman also is looking at the fuel dealers to finance the government. And therefore, you're finding that fuel dealers are really grappling with a lot of demands from the taxman, expecting this fuel dealer to be able to pay. Bearing in mind that even as the fuel has gone up, our margins that were done, the proposals were done 3 years ago, have not risen. There is cost of inflation and cost of capital. Our margins are still the same. Some few months ago, we have not been making any margins at all, even in a time when the government was really trying to harmonize the prices by bringing subsidies, which are also bringing our sector down, we as individuals. But you know, the public outlook is that the prices are high. All the same, as much as they are high, for us, we are suffering. Some of our dealers, for the last 5 months, they have not been paid for the subsidy money. And you know, subsidy money is not loan you give to government. It's not a loan they'll pay with interest. Is money given to the government. You don't know when they are going to pay back. And when they are going to pay you back, they don't pay with interest. So you're finding that our people are really struggling because of working capital. Their money is held. They cannot be able to plan for their money because every time they bring fuel, for now, the government is subsidizing diesel. So every time they bring their money, their fuel, the money is held. And our business is high intensive capital. Mm-hmm. So we would want to request also that the government shall ease the way of our doing business, because when everybody has money to be able to buy, there is the competition and the supply and demand will work in the market, causing the prices to go down.
Yeah. Now, there's been conversation, and I feel, especially when Kenya went through the man-made crisis, fuel shortage, and EPRA is yet to make public those retailers and distributors who decided to hoard the fuel, as well as, take their fuel outside the country. Now, to avoid such a similar scenario, Mr. Karanja, what do you think needs to be done by the regulator, especially, and government, so to speak, to ensure that we never have such a situation again, from where you sit?
I think basically what happens in this industry is that the regulator kind of works with some policies which were formulated long time ago, when there were no independents, dealers, and when the population was still low. The need, the volumes for the fuel were still very low. Now, when the population grows, then there is this liberalization, and the independents are there. You want to use the same policies which were, imported from outside by the multinationals. Then there must be a problem because of the increase of demand. Yeah.
Now, talking about, let me cut you short on that and also add this, throw this spanner into the works now. You are in the distribution business. The value chain trickles all the way from main exporters to the wholesalers, to the retailers, then to the consumers. If there was an introduction of the wholesale cap, would it change the dynamics when it comes to, distribution, and also not only efficiency, but also the cost of fuel?
Yeah, as I come to that, just to clear when the independents came in and they started doing their businesses, the multinationals, the big companies now, pulled out from the mashinani. They came to the urban centers, leaving those other areas for the independents, the small ones. Yes. Yet, the small ones don't have their own. They don't import their own products. We depend on the multinationals. such that when a small crisis happens and the multinationals decide to just serve their own petrol stations, then we become very vulnerable. We cannot access these products. At the same time, what the regulator has been doing is that they call us, they table bills, they come with proposals. Like now, the profits, according to the law, the whole chain is supposed to work for about 12 shillings. These 12 shillings is divided into three. There is about 3 shillings and 90 cents for the importer, who is automatically the multinational as at now. And then there is 4 shillings for the dealer who now buys the product, the liquid, to go and sell it. But then he won't sell it in the air. He will sell it from some place. Now, there is another 4 shillings, making it 12 now. For the construction, the investment there, such that you can't go beyond that. It is the law. Yet, these 4 shillings, this 4 plus 4, is not allowed. It's not given by the importer. He does not allow you to work or to get the 4 shillings, because he will sell to you allowing only for the liquid, the margin for the liquid. So you find that some of these policies are really hard on the independents, and it is what is crushing the common man.
The small, actually, when you say independence, these are the small stakeholders or other players within the distribution value chain.
Right.
But then enter National Oil. Government has been working to ensure that now National Oil stands in place, targeting the small stakeholders in this value chain. Do you think that this is the right direction by increasing its allocation to National Oil? And I remember there was a conference and you were there, and EPRA was calling stakeholders to have their views, and I remember you saying that it's a high time that also independents were considered in the allocation in terms of the liters that come in and such, borrowing heavily from National Oil. Is this a direction that we need to take, Madam Irene?
Yeah, it was a good policy. The problem is our parastatals somehow never work. So it's something that...
Oh, when you say parastatal, this is one. Yeah. Your one.
US is trying. So you find that they start today, a few days later, they don't have fuel. You can never rely on them. But the one that did that policy was a very good policy. If they can be able to return back to those days, then we can be able to work well. Yeah. So and we make almost the majority. We are also the ones that reach the people down there, especially when we are looking at the bottom-up economy of our current government. We should be targeting the people that are down there where they call mashinani, and that's where we are. So if National Oil could come back and import fuel for us, would be good. But even without National Oil, with good policies, because we have independent importers who are not the big dealers, who are not the multinationals, if they would just be given good playground and good policies in place, they will bring their fuel. And as I said again, demand and supply will dictate the market, and if the supply is high, the demand also, the prices also will go
down.
Yeah.
The low
just
demand
to
and
add on
supply.
that, because you asked about the National Oil.
Yes.
I think it's important to mention that because kind of right now where we are, it appears like it's just a name. The plant is there, but it's not operating. We are there. Nobody even thinks about National Oil. I think when funds are released, then the Kenyans, being who we are, maybe we talk 1-2 about National Oil, but
the situation on ground is different.
The situation on the ground is just there. It's not working.
Thank you for that. Now being a parastatal, I'm sure that this is an opportunity, for the regulator to actually hear in as far as that was a good policy. Well, situation on ground is that National Oil is actually not playing the role that it was meant to play. Now let's talk about fair taxation, and I want to bring in the issue of withholding tax, because this is something that, has really dogged the industry, especially looking at the small players. In your view, what do you think about the withholding tax, Mr. Karanja?
Well, this is a big problem. Recently, KRA kind of appointed most of the dealers as withholding agents.
Withholding agents. Yeah. KRA appointed. Let's have that clear.
Yes, we all received letters that from now onwards we are going to be...
they appoint without your consent.
Without your consent.
Just receive
so you're not consulted about it?
No.
And you see, the situation at the ground is that it's quite different. They don't know what we are doing. They really don't know what is happening at the ground.
Now,
and because they are trying to, to squeeze some money from people who don't have, very soon I think it will just come clear to the government that what they do from their offices is quite opposite from what is happening at the ground.
Now let's debunk withholding tax when it comes to matters of distribution of fuel products, because I think we need to all be on the same page and understand, especially our viewers who are wondering what is withholding tax. Madam Irene, just take us through, when you say you are appointed as a withholding agent, what does that mean for your business?
It means now when you're buying, let me get it well. For example, when I'm a retailer, the government is a withholding agent. And now the government bodies, when they are buying from me, they'll withhold 6% of the amount that they are buying from me. So let's take, for example, they are buying a fuel worth 100,000. 6% is 6,000 shillings. We said the margins per litre is about 4 shillings. Sometimes it's lesser than that. So when you calculate the amount, the money we are selling at today, you're making like 4,000. But they have withheld your 6,000. So you're not making the 6,000 they have withheld. They have withheld your capital. They have withheld your profit. Basically what you do, you refuse to sell to them. Not only that now, these other big people, like the big companies, the multinationals, they are exempt from withholding. But us now, the small players are the ones that are supposed to withhold. So after some time, KRA will come and say, you are withholding agent. How much money have you withheld? You say, like, nobody wanted me to withhold from them. They will tell you, according to us and according to your calculations, like one man told me, they are telling him, you should be paying 18 million. He does not have that kind of money. So it's a draconian rule that cannot work because our market is controlled. The margins are too small, even if the turnover is high. Yeah.
So in your proposal, because I'm hearing this actually, you are not given an opportunity by the taxman, that is the Kenya Revenue Authority. They appoint indiscriminately, none has shared. Are you saying here and now that KRA does not involve you when it comes to making these decisions?
No, it doesn't.
They don't.
It doesn't.
And you see, the one they are calling you
once
to tell
we
you
receive the letters, we just gather together again. We just, talk together and ask, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to... But you are telling people to give you 10 million, 12 million,
money
which they don't even have. So what do you expect?
Now, from where you sit, because you find yourself in this catch-22, you're already in this business, and we pray we are not going to see you backing out, because backing out is losing, and losing, that's quite an investment. What do you think needs to be done to ensure that you have an even playing field when it comes, between multinationals and independents, so to speak, in this particular distribution value chain? What do you think? What would be your recommendations, Mr.
Basically, again, based on what we see, like the government is pushing, using very old policies when things maybe were being run by very special people who were able and they were, supported from elsewhere. But now these locals, very lowly people, just trying to make a living because this is where, they can find a window. The government needs to go to the ground again. Just see how somebody in this line survives. try to, get the data, get all the real information, then look for a way of how to, to formulate, to get something from them. But you don't just sit in the office and use some internet somewhere and some other books and then just decide this is what is going to happen. It doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. No, it's just like now what we are doing. We are looking for ways of, preventing ourselves from hunger again. But without actually getting the facts of how or what we can do, then it will be very hard. In petroleum business, it is very different. Very different. There is a level of business here where you can invest like about 2 million shillings for one truckload. And from those 2 million shillings, you're just going to make about maximum of 40,000. Is it 4,000 or 40,000?
But you remove transport.
Yes, then remove transport and then remove all the taxes.
The investment does not commensurate.
So you have invested 2 million, and the maximum you can get is 40,000. Then you start lessing, with so many losses along the way, because petroleum is prone to losses.
Mm-hmm. Now, ma'am, you've talked about what I'm hearing from Mr. Karanja here. As a chair, he thinks that government is putting in place policies devoid of having, all-inclusive conversations with the player. Now, Madam Irene, we have seen some Gazette notices saying that, some amendments to the Petroleum Act of 2020 might just be coming into force. What is your take, and do you have issues with some of the clauses?
When you look at the policies that are made by the people that make these policies, you really sit to wonder if they come from this country, or they've grown here, or they have just come. Why? One, independent dealers are over 50% today. So basically, we almost control the market.
In terms of numbers, but in terms of capacity...
capacity we don't have, because
in terms of the numbers,
financially, we are not that strong.
Yes.
That means we move the economy in a big way. And fuel is a big mover of the economy. But now you find every regulator, when you come to KRI, when you come to EPRA, is like the people they sit with. Either they are very big people, or they're not in touch with the ground, or they just basically refuse to understand. Because when you look at the proposals in that Gazette notice, one, they are saying, if you operate a petrol station without a valid EPRA license, the fine is 10 million. Now, the licenses alone, they are too many. You'll take like 1 year following all the licenses. 1 year and something. And when you're followed from NCA, you're followed with the drawings, you're followed with NEMA, you take to EPRA, they'll stay waiting for a committee to sit down and pass to give you the permit. Just imagine now you're taking a loan, you're still paying the loan, waiting for them to give you the permit. Now let's go down there if you come from the very rural areas, because today we have motorbikes, they are all over. Those people need fuel. The cost of licensing alone is over 1 million shillings. This person, by the time they make 1 million shillings, maybe it's 10 years. So you'll find that person, because there is demand, they'll still set up a car pump and start selling. What happens when now the EPRA comes? Find this man 10 million. He cannot have 10 million even if he sells everything he has in this whole world. So it means people will be selling, but they will be behaving as if they are doing an illegal business. Whereas there is a market. There is room to make money. There is room to make business. And this business is what brings taxes to the government, and it brings employment to people. But you find such laws that are so draconian will cause this market not to grow. And sometimes we suspect that somebody somewhere, a big player, does not want competition. I always think in business, competition is good. If you're in competition and in the market and you cannot be able to keep up with the competition, then it's not just good for you. But for economy, Competition is good. So you find such proposals. There's another proposal that if your truck is found parked in a place that is not designated, you'll be fined 1 million shillings. Now I'm trying to wonder, if the driver gets a headache or stomachache, a running stomach, and he cannot be able to move on, and by bad luck, he has parked where he's not supposed to park, then you find that person 1 million shilling. Why will that driver get that money?
That's a good question. Yeah. So now that we find ourselves in this situation, there's this with the law. What are you doing as independents to ensure at least some amendments that even the regulator and government gets to listen to your voice and correct this? Because at the end of the day, government says that it is working at creating a conducive environment for everybody to do business. Mr. Karanja, as we work towards the end.
You know, now kind of it's almost desperate. Because even when we attend those public participation forums, what we suggest is never taken in. The discussions that we do there is never even noted. What they had presented is what they will pass. They just use their public participation forums as a rubber stamp, because after the whole process, what comes out is the same thing that we talked and discussed about and sought some changes and adjustments here and there, but then you just find the same thing what you were discussing about. So for me is just kind of almost desperate.
Mm-hmm. You find yourself in a desperate situation.
Yeah. Now maybe such like these ones, when we shout and if they'll hear the voices, then the better. But when you sit down around the table to talk, they just take in what they had. I mean, they just seal what they had.
Just wonder,
what can we do? Or rather, what are you doing to ensure that you change this wheel of time, this wheel of fate?
Before I go there, let me add on what Mr. Karanja has said. I remember because fuel is charged VAT, and on the retail segment, we are really pushing to have the VAT removed. Let the government put it on top of the chain so that we can be able to distribute the 8% to the whole economy. Now,
when you say at the top of the chain, explain so that our viewers can understand.
Yeah, from the wholesale level.
From the wholesale
level.
We
pay there so that you can now be able to distribute it. Because now the 8% is squeezing me as a retailer. And remember, the margins are 4 shillings. When the EPRA is calculating, when they put the 8%, I expected, they put cost plus margin plus transport. Then now that's what you get. Transport, you remove the transport, you get the margin. But I expected when they put the 8%, they should put 8% because they regulate us. You cannot increase the price to push the 8% to the consumer. Now, when we went for a meeting with KRI, we told them basically it is not possible to be able to give every motorist a receipt, because VAT, you should give a receipt at the point of sale. And I want you to imagine a motorbike that has come to buy 30 shillings fuel. You are making 4 shillings from 179 shillings. 30 shillings, you are not even making 50 cents. Then you produce a receipt for that person. You have employed somebody, the receipt is money, and this person is not taking this receipt anywhere. So KRI guys told us, okay, it's not workable for you. You can be ramping up and writing it in the evening or the end of the month. But right now, the other day I was at KRI to pay because I did not issue a receipt at the point of sale. And I was like, we agreed. And they said we cannot do it, it's not doable. They were like, bring the minutes. Now, I thought what they say, they mean it. So that's the kind of problem we are having. And we are urging the government, please. Because if the government wants money, let it give us a conducive working environment and laws that are workable. Today I'm seeing Raila Odinga speak here, and he's saying there's a way you press people with taxes and they just go rogue. And we don't want to go rogue. We want to pay. Let KRI come on the ground, understand how this business works. In fact, we are proposing, let us have somebody who understands the petroleum sector from retail all through. Our business fluctuates by the day as like the dollar goes or the international prices go. But now you find when KRI comes to assess you, they assess you after about 4 years. The margins we make, calculating 4 shillings today, we are making 2.2% per litre. But when they come to assess you, they give you 16% margin. They give you 22% margin. They tell you it's up to you to defend yourself. By the time you defend yourself, you're paying money to defend yourself, which is not small money. The emotional turmoil, most of our people are sick. They have blood pressure, they have heart diseases. Let the government come on the ground, understand how this business goes. We are also requesting for tax education. Why? Because most of our people, they are people who started. They did not maybe go to college. They started a small business. They saw people can buy fuel. They started selling. Now they are big. They have made money. They have big cash flows. But they don't know how to calculate this tax.
So a point where the taxman, that is a Kenya Revenue, meets especially the independents in the petroleum sector to understand each other. So maybe then this conversation would actually see the light of day. Have you approached the Kenya Revenue Authority on this, sir?
You see, the way Madam Irene is saying, that is the truth. And because they don't have anybody who knows about what is happening at the ground, how this common man is, because you cannot compare him with the multinationals who have systems, you know, imported systems, and they are using those systems. But where did the common man get a system? You know, he just started by surviving, you know, survival business, And then when he grows, he tries to just, you know, sort himself out. But understanding, I mean, if you want to put him in the same taxation cap with the multinationals who have their systems, we don't have. Multinationals will not take 100 shillings from the fuel to do something here. They have to budget and do other things. But for us, is you encounter a challenge here, you get to the nearest shilling and sort it out. You need to understand these things. At the end of the day, what is this man going to,
Now, I'll give you at least a minute as we come to a close. We find ourselves in this situation. And from a Kenyan and a consumer point of view, what should we expect in the next 5-6 days from you're in the value chain? Are we expecting that the cost of fuel is going to go down for this month that is coming? From where you sit, what do you think? I know we are speculating, but you know, you have been in this business. Mambo yanakaaje? Maybe ndio tuweze kujipanga 179 si shilingi kidogo per liter. What do you think? What should we expect? Siku ni tano. What do you think?
For me, considering what we have talked about and how the systems work, and you know, we are expecting some shillings to go up, despite the fact that the global prices are still low. But you know, considering our space, then I still think that
tuzidi kukaza kamba.
Lazima.
Madam Irene, what do you think? What should we expect? He says, the way things are, from where he sits, you know, distribution and such, Kenyans should not, you know, just wait with bated breath for the 14th, which happens to be Monday next week, to have an ease at the pump, that we are going to continue maybe experiencing pain at the pump. I know you're not a regulator, but you are a player within the value chain. Mambo yanakaaje on ground?
The way I looked at the market and the regulator, most likely the prices will not change or they'll go up a bit.
Yeah. Either we maintain the current, which is 179 shillings per litre of super petrol, at least in Nairobi, and 165 shillings for diesel in Nairobi, 147 for kerosene in Nairobi.
Though international prices are going down, so if they consider that, it can go down. But looking at our economy and the way things go, I don't see.
There you have it. We have been discussing the issue of the high cost of fuel and trying to understand, especially from the retailer's point of view. These are the people who are within the distribution value chain, from what they have to say in regard to why are we paying for so much for this commodity that is running our homes, running our businesses, basically running our very lives. They are quite disheartening. They are just saying that their expectations by what they have seen in the market is that in the next 6 days, either we maintain the current fuel prices that are at an all-time high. For Nairobi, we have 179 shillings per litre of super petrol, 165 shillings for diesel, and 147 shillings for every litre of kerosene. I've been having a conversation with Joseph Karanja, who is the chair of KIPIDA, if you like, that is the Independent Petroleum Distributors Association, and on my far left has been none other than the chair of Mount Kenya East Petroleum Distributors, Irene Kimathi. Top of their agenda is that they are calling on government to create a conducive environment for them to do business and level the playing field, especially when it comes to, the multinationals who have more financial muscle than they do. And they're also calling for the taxman to have a conversation with them to understand how the business works on ground, so that they do not have, punitive taxes. Well, this has been Good Morning Kenya. I want to leave you to our normal programming. Keep it KBC Channel 1. I'm Regina Manyara. Thank you for your feedback. We have had quite the moment there. Our Twitter handle forever remains at KBC Channel 1. Mine is at Ray Manyara. And we want to remind you, World Cup iko KBC, and we just have 12 days to go, so save the date.
What up? My name is DJ Piera McKenna. Listen, KBC Channel 1 is the only channel that is showing World Cup exclusively. Keep watching it. Have a good time.
Football extravaganza, Qatar World Cup 2022. We bring you